there was supposed to be like a
Yes.
secret GC that
What?
um her gym
What?
mates made without her. And
Huh?
who was she talking to? Was she talking about it to Kyo back then? I don't remember if she was talking about it with Kyo, but but she had like a little stream with somebody, and she mentioned about the secret GC, and the fact that she brought it up got Nijisanji
That
fans
sounds
fucking canceling
scary.
her for even daring to talk about something like that.
That sounds scary.
People have to understand. Itheria, yeah, people have to understand.
Weird.
Niji
Weird.
sisters, the complaints and the criticism they have against Hololive fans are their exact same problem. Say what you want about Hololive fans. Hololive fans are sensitive, overly defensive of their Roshis, and sometimes a lot of them are very vocal about about their Oshis not talking to men or whatever.
Okay. We're going
But
live.
at least
Let's
we
go.
don't hold um to certain standards.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? We don't fucking
Let's get
bum rush them if they
this.
say quote the wrong things. We don't. Seriously. Was it Alban? Oh, it was Alban. Oh, gotcha.
That happens is me. At least management check with you. This is the problem. There's many other times that they didn't check with me. They started eventually checking with me with stuff when like it got kind of obvious that I was like kind of being put under this weird scrutiny, but there has been times where I wasn't. And like you have to think about it too. If there is a big group sponsor
Mhm.
and management knows that putting me on there will get them a lot of emails and stuff, even though it's not fair and even though it's not right, wouldn't it be simpler to just take me off a big sponsor? Wouldn't it be simpler to just give that group sponsor to another person?
Mhm.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
That's so sad, though.
Is she, I feel like that's big. Hold on. Let me listen to that. That's big, right?
Mails and stuff, even though it's not fair and management knows to, if there is a big group sponsor and management knows that putting me on there will get them a lot of emails and stuff, even though it's not fair and even though it's not
It
right,
is not
wouldn't it be
fair.
simpler to just take me off a big sponsor?
Dude,
Wouldn't it be
what?
simpler to just give
What my
that group
character?
sponsor to another person?
What the heck? This
So
makes
that was the kind
sense.
of stuff where I'm like, I just felt like I was stuck. I was stuck, and like
Like,
it
whatever
didn't
she
matter
did will be wrong.
What did Vox say? Favoritism in Nijisanji didn't exist or something? Something, something. Okay.
what I did.
Yeah.
That kind of a story at a certain point happened almost every single time I
Yay!
interacted
Nota is
with
totally
other
the first
members,
person in
even
stream.
members that were my
Yeah!
friends.
Oh,
Even when like, Mint and I, for example, we have like a very clear dynamic when we collab together. Didn't
okay.
matter. So I was like, I need to get out of here. I need to get out of here. It doesn't matter. I think these people are just waiting with like freaking torches, Like, I
Yeah,
gotta go. If I stay here, eventually my
with
house will
the
get burned.
Bretts waiting
It's
for her
crazy.
to go
Like, I think
down.
about it now and I giggle, but
It's so bad for her.
Back
at
then.
the time it was really serious.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And it was really bad.
Yeah.
And I just felt like I was in a kind of down if I do, down if I don't.
Mm-hmm.
Smoke,
No, I feel so
I'm glad you're here now, and like I do of course
bad. Oh, sorry.
regret, I'm sad that I couldn't have stayed, but I think what we have now is so good, and
It's better.
Mm-hmm.
You actually have
I am
big
proud of
numbers now.
myself for having the courage to leave.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Also at the same time, I don't know how proud I can really be of myself for having the courage to leave when like things were so bad that like how could I stay? How could I stay? I also at a certain
No.
point
Is
I'm
this
like, oh,
some sort of survivorship guilt or something?
Yeah, the
oh, it
survivor's
wasn't
guilt.
that courageous to leave because there was no staying. I
Oh
really do believe staying
no,
would have
not
eventually been like
again.
one thing away from like a weird
Mental
something.
breakdown. Okay. Sure.
That's one thing, Zoria. I actually think I'm not to sound like an avoidant. I actually think I'm very good at leaving. I think that is one thing about me that is very good, and I've talked about it before. I because I tolerate a lot
Mm,
and because I make a lot of excuses.
mm,
The reason I think I'm good at leaving is because I actually when things were bad, I gave examples and ideas of how they could change to
Sure.
inner management, and also like I tried to do things that I thought could change the narrative or the situation. Like I
Sure.
actually try and give it my best shot. So that way, after you give your best shot,
mm,
it's a lot easier to be like, well, I
mm,
gave my best shot. Why would I stay? Right? I
yeah.
think it was also different because I had been a streamer for a long time before my corpo.
Sure.
Yes, the corpo took me to heights that I hadn't previously had experienced,
Yeah.
but what's the point of having this great height if you're crying all the time and you're
Exactly.
miserable and your friends are like, hey, I'm glad your job is doing well, but like you're crying, you're miserable, you're stressed, you're a jerk.
Hmm.
And I guess it was just one of those things where like I
Yeah.
because
I
I've
wonder who's the jerk.
Just
I wonder who's the jerk. Hmm.
done it before, I knew that I could do it again. I knew that I could rebuild again. Funny enough, I don't know if I've said this part of it before. Earlier that year, I had told myself that that was my last year that I was gonna seriously try to do content. And if it doesn't work out, then I was gonna leave content creation and I was gonna get a job, probably in the industry, probably doing some kind of partner management. I hate to say it, but I think I'm pretty good at managing people.
Sure.
That year, when I said that it was my last year, and by the way, this is advice that I always give people as well. When people are like, oh, I don't know if I should keep streaming, what should I do? I genuinely give this advice and I mean it. Give it one more year, but
Mhm.
don't give it one more year of like, oh, I went live for 8 hours, I had 3 viewers, and then I just streamed for 12 hours the next day. Why do I have 3 viewers? Give it one more year, but like
Mhm.
actually, I gave it one more year, but I started doing TikTok. I started doing YouTube. Back then there was no YouTube shorts. I didn't have money for editing, so I found somebody who was editing my videos. It's a Russian guy that was editing my videos for $50. But then
Sure.
what I had to do is I had to basically write the whole video script. I had to go into my 8 hour VOD and be like, cut
Mhm.
this, cut this, cut that, cut that. And he would just kind of snip it together. I did my own thumbnail. I did all that stuff. So I gave it
Sure.
one last year.
Mhm.
But
But
you
I
went all
actually,
out.
like,
You went all out.
Gave it
She
a
went
year.
all
You know,
out.
instead
Yeah.
of streaming,
That's what I want to
7
do.
days a week for 10 hours and wondering why I'm not getting more viewers, I streamed five days a week, 6 hours, and I was like, okay. Other days, like I was doing TikTok, I was doing YouTube, I was doing that stuff. So, fun fact:
Yeah.
that year, I had a really crazy, like wild, out of the ordinary dream when I was, quote unquote hustling. I said, wouldn't, and I said this to Teak. I said, wouldn't it be crazy if I got 100K on YouTube before the end of the year? I was doing YouTube, I was doing
Okay.
TikTok. Auditions came.
Mhm.
I auditioned. By the time I was getting through to the auditions, my
Mhm.
YouTube content started quote unquote popping off. Let me explain. When you
Sure.
have 3K on YouTube, you're getting 200 views, 100 views. My YouTube started getting 5, 10, 15K views.
Wow.
My subscribers were growing.
Sure.
By the time I had joined agency, I had 25K on YouTube. I know it would have been hard to try and hit 100K, but you have to understand the way YouTube works.
Mhm.
Once you're on the come up, it is so much easier to come up faster and faster and faster. So I did end up hitting 100K on YouTube that year, by the way, because of the corpo, right? Like I joined and then I
Yes.
did end up hitting the 100K.
Yes.
But I did always have that kind of like in my back pocket of
So you decided to you wanted to leave since 2022.
Oof.
I'm understanding that correctly, right? She's wanted to leave since 2022.
That is heavy.
that I had before this.
That's peak of their year.
That's heavy.
That was peak for them. Damn.
Big TikTok,
Damn.
YouTube growing really
Indeed.
fast,
Damn indeed.
Instagram, all these other things growing. So I was like, I think I could still be okay if I left because I kind of proved to myself that like I could
You
still
were able to do it. Yes.
I could still do it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that helped a lot. But yeah, that's always my advice to people. If you are like, I think I'm gonna quit, give it one more year, but give it like the most serious one more year.
Yeah.
Like not just oh, I'm gonna stream sometimes.
For
Like
them. Yeah, no, I know for them. Yeah.
really call it like pretend like you're gonna die after this. You know, like what's your 1 year of like okay,
Lol, okay.
I'm locking in. That was my lock-in year. So
I like the perspective. Not gonna lie.
and I think just seeing the work that my lock-in year did for me also reminded me of like, hey, I know what I'm doing. I could do it again. I know what I like to do. I know that there's an audience for this.
Okay.
I know that me being quote unquote an older person on the internet,
It's gonna
there
work.
are other older people on the internet that don't necessarily want to see a screen filled with like alerts and notifications. And don't get me wrong, right? Like I love our alerts. If somebody
You
gives
saw a market and you took advantage of it.
Yes.
Because you knew you were
She was
you
something
saw a
different.
market and you took advantage of it because you knew there were very few people in the industry that fulfilled that market.
Yes.
Smart. Very smart even.
50 gift
Okay, I
items,
won't
that's
stream
awesome and it's great. But
for
there
the
is a
next
certain
5
niceness of, like, not having
minutes.
just the stream be all alerts or all that or like super high energy or talking about things that like maybe aren't that we can't relate to. So I just knew I'm like if I am that person on the internet, there are others like me, and I think eventually they'll find me and I'll find them.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
And that's okay indeed.
Hey, good for her.
Good for her.
Wow. No, seriously, like really good for her.
Yeah.
Damn. Damn, damn, damn.
Da-di-di-dum, da-di-dum, da-di-dum, da-di-da-di-da-di-dum, da-di-da-da-dum. Da-di-di-dum, da-di-dum, da-di-dum, da-di-da-di-da-di-dum, da-di-da-da-dum. Da-da-da-da-da-da. What is this? It's a basket. Okay. Weird. Okay. Yeah, Daffy Duck is horrible. I don't like Daffy Duck. That's true. Last good one. Miji Sanji's last good VTuber. Okay. That's a way to say it. That's a way to say things. Oh no. Adding Ross. I don't know what Adding Ross is, nor do I care. Ew, boy in a band. Yucky. Oh, this is interesting. I want to watch
The
this.
regular show finale ends the way that you'd expect a show like this to end. Big cosmic battle, real emotional stakes, Pops sacrificing himself to save the universe. David Bowie starts playing, and then we get a quiet little epilogue montage showing us where everyone ends up. It's real sweet. Benson becomes the owner of the park. Skips keeps on skipping. Muscleman and Starla have kids. Rigby and Eileen continue on their path. And Mordecai, the one the show spent 6 seasons putting through every romantic disaster imaginable, meets a Batwoman at an art gallery, marries her, and has 3 kids. The show
Huh?
just moves on. She was barely even given a name. She doesn't have a single line of dialogue in the entire show,
What?
which completely baffled me. I
Who's
remember
calling
reading
me?
that for the first time and thinking, wait,
Scammers.
that's it? What happened to Margaret? What happened to CJ? He just meets some other random woman and suddenly everything's fine? Until I realized, yeah, that's literally the whole point. Mordecai had to learn a specific insight to get here.
What?
Where is here? And what exactly happened? I'm gonna explore that, so why don't you join me?
Okay.
Starting at the point where it all began, Margaret.
Okay, I believe
Mordecai
you.
was in love with Margaret since the moment he met her. She worked at a coffee shop across from the park. She's warm, funny, a little out of his league in his head, and she always has a boyfriend. Every time Mordecai gets close to saying something, there's a new guy in the picture. And every time there isn't, Mordecai finds a brand new reason to say nothing. He goes to that coffee shop constantly, drinks coffee he doesn't care about, drags Rigby into situations they don't need to be in, just to be near her. And none of it is conscious per se. He's not like running a strategy or anything. He's just permanently parked in the safest possible position, close enough to feel something,
Yeah.
far enough away that nothing can go wrong. For
Yeah.
3 seasons, this is who Mordecai is. It's so bad that his friends even give it a name, pulling a Mordecai. It means freezing up when it matters, overthinking yourself into paralysis, getting so caught up in how something could go wrong that you never give it a chance for it to go right.
Yeah.
Now, if you asked Mordecai what his problem with relationships was, he'd probably say something like, oh, it's just bad timing, or wrong moment. Things just didn't work out, right? And he'd be telling the truth as he understands it. But the show is telling us something different the whole time.
What is
Mordecai
it?
has one wound, which we'll get to shortly. So first we'll see how the show hands us an episode that basically explains the entire problem
So I have
in
this.
just
I
11
need to
minutes.
fix the
It's
shading of
Bad
the
Kiss from season 3.
nose.
Mordecai and Margaret go on a double date. It goes pretty well, and at the end of the night, they kiss. Something that he's been building toward for years. And then Margaret pulls away because he has terrible breath. It's awkward. a little embarrassing, completely survivable, and Mordecai's response is to find a time machine and erase the kiss entirely.
What?
Not the breath or the awkwardness, or to just apologize and just say, oops. He wants to erase the entire kiss from existence.
Oh, this is
So he
stupid.
goes back in time and undoes the best thing that happens to him romantically in 3 years because he couldn't sit with 5 minutes of embarrassment. By season 4, the excuses have run out. Margaret is single, his friends are watching him, the moment is there, and in meteor moves, the show gets so literal about his problem that it creates a physical location for it, the friend zone dimension, a
Oh?
place that Mordecai's own indecision manifests into existence.
Oh?
And while he's standing inside it, he finally says it out loud.
It's just, I've liked Margaret for so long. What if she's not into me?
That's the whole of the first 3 seasons in
Oh.
one sentence. And then he breaks out, confesses, and they kiss. And for a moment, it
Okay.
feels like everything the show has been building toward has finally arrived. It looks real this time. Then comes a
But then
similar
it
episode
isn't?
late in season 4. Mordecai takes Margaret to a nice restaurant, and after everything, the time travel, the friend zone, the almost kisses, he finally asks her to be his girlfriend. The moment is perfect, and his
And?
luck has run out. Margaret got into her dream school. She's leaving. She runs out of the restaurant
What?
crying because she actually liked him too, and the timing is it's just wrong. It's
Oh.
too late. The last image of the
That's
season is
sad.
Mordecai sitting on the roof of the house at sunset, while Rigby sits quietly next to him.
Oh, I
No
remember
time
this
traveling this
scene.
time,
That
just
scene
a guy
stayed
who
with me
waited too long,
forever.
sitting with what cost him. To make matters worse, Margaret liked him the whole time.
Oh.
The obstacle was never her.
I need to
There was
listen
no
to an
obstacle,
audio.
really.
Give me a sec.
Mordecai himself, standing
On
in
a
the hallway
mute.
for 4 years, or seasons, until the window closed. With Margaret leaving, he loses the fantasy that he'd spent 4 seasons building around her, the version that existed at a safe distance, that he could love without risking anything. And when real Margaret finally showed up with real feelings and a real goodbye, he didn't know what to do with any of it. When you're stuck inside of that place, these two things can feel identical, the person and the idea of the person. And that's what makes it so hard to explain to someone who's never been there. The problem is, Mordecai never even really sits with that. He never lets this loss teach him anything before the next thing arrives. Because almost immediately after, he's engaged. Mordecai open in a way that 4 seasons of pining somehow never did. And in that raw, unguarded state,
Poor guy.
Rigby signs him up for a dating site. And after a string of terrible dates, he meets CJ. A cloud woman. She's sharp, she's funny, she's completely unimpressed by him in the best possible way. And they have genuine chemistry from the jump. So he asks her to the movies. And then Mordecai finds out that Margaret isn't actually engaged. It was a misunderstanding. So, without a second thought, he drops everything with CJ to go ask Margaret to a movie as well, and accidentally double books them both. CJ shows up, realizes what happens, turns into a literal storm cloud, and disappears from the show for a little bit. The show is already telling you how this ends. Mordecai just isn't listening. When CJ comes back, they kind of find their way back to each other slowly. They reconnect at a New Year's masquerade party, behind masks, not knowing who the other person is, and it's the most natural conversation Mordecai has had with anyone he's ever liked. And then they take the masks off. And somehow, knowing it's CJ, he doesn't run. They agree to be friends first, and for once, Mordecai actually respects the pace of something. The relationship builds honestly through real dates, and by the season 5 finale, we get the clearest picture of who Mordecai could be when he's actually present. There's a charm bracelet. He takes a bazooka blast meant for CJ, and when the charms melt together in the explosion, he gives her the fused heart as a gift. It's a super romantic moment, and it's the most
Aww.
emotionally coherent Mordecai has ever been, and it's
Aw.
good for him. And then Margaret comes back. She's finishing her degree by working at the news station. She moves in with Eileen, and suddenly she's not just a memory anymore. She's at the same parties, in the same rooms, and Mordecai, to his
Oh.
credit, tells himself that he's fine, probably even believes it. And then
I'm a
Mary
rock
turns to
star
in his
Mordecai is where this
prime.
all falls apart.
Mama,
At Eileen's
welcome,
Christmas
welcome. My
party,
name is
CJ
Apple
pulls Mordecai aside and
Macintosh.
asks him
I
directly
am
why
an
he's so
owl art teacher VTuber, and I also have to have you. Welcome, welcome. I'm working on icons. Yes.
And then,
Hello.
maybe 10 minutes later, he ends up alone with
Hello.
Margaret. They start talking, reminiscing, a nostalgic warmth settles over the moment, and then they're kissing. Out of reflex, years of feeling something with nowhere to put it, and his guard was down, and there it was. CJ sees it, she literally storms off and drives away. And what follows is Mordecai trying to fix something that isn't really fixable through fixing. He apologizes, he does grand gestures, he tells CJ the truth about how much the Margaret breakup hurt him. And CJ, who is genuinely a better person than this situation deserves, forgives him. They get back together again. But the problem was never this kiss. The problem is that Mordecai is in a relationship with CJ while still in his mind emotionally living in the past.
Yeah.
And you can apologize your way out of a single mistake, but you can't apologize your way out of a mind state, out of a pattern. Every crisis in Season 6 is just that same thing wearing a different outfit. The miscommunication at the helicopter party, the double date that explodes when Margaret admits that she still has feelings for him as well. Every time, Mordecai defaults to avoidance. Every time he chooses the version of events that requires the least honesty in that moment. And every time, CJ absorbs the damage. It ends
Poor
at Muscle Man's
CJ.
wedding. Mordecai, paralyzed by everything that's been building all season, and in a bad moment, gets up and delivers a rambling speech about not knowing who his soulmate is, in the middle of someone else's wedding. Before
I
he can
was
even get to
stretched,
the
thank
point,
you.
as it looked like he was about to declare CJ as his soulmate, it's too late. CJ already jumps to a different conclusion, takes off the charm bracelet, and walks out.
Oh
She
my
never speaks
god.
to him again.
You know
And
what? He
Rigby,
deserves
who,
it.
mind you, has been quietly and successfully dating Eileen for 3 months without a single episode of drama, looks at him and says,
When I said go with your gut, did you hear completely lose your mind and try to dump your girlfriend at a wedding?
the show is asking a quiet, uncomfortable question by the end of Season 6. What if the problem was never that Mordecai wasn't ready for love? What if he just kept choosing the drama over the intimacy?
Yeah.
What if all the pining
What if
and
the
almost
fucking
and
problem is
chaos
Mordecai?
became a way of feeling something without ever having to be truly known by anyone? Mordecai ends up in Dumptown, USA, a mysterious island where heartbroken men live in bathrobes, eat junk food,
Dumptown,
and just
USA.
give up. He's been there 2
Lord.
weeks without realizing it. He's lost the version of himself that was always just almost in love with someone. That was his whole identity, and without it, he doesn't know who he is anymore. Rigby has to fake a breakup with Eileen just to get into Dumptown and drag him out. And eventually, Mordecai and Margaret end up
And
alone
let's
together
take this
one more time.
as
A
lips to your
restaurant,
fire.
a magical chef, onion steam that shows them a version of their potential future, marriage, a houseboat, kids, 50 happy years, dying peacefully
Ooh, a
side by
forward
side.
date.
It's genuinely beautiful, and they walk away from it.
Margaret, you're really cool, and our future looks like it could be cool too, but after seeing all that, I'm sure of what I want now. I think it would be best if we were just friends.
That is
What?
the whole series was building toward. Not Mordecai finally getting the girl after
What?
6 seasons being a simp. Mordecai finally chooses reality over the story that he's been telling himself. He
What?
lets go because he finally understands his problem. It was holding on to something that he shouldn't have been holding on to.
What?
After that revelation, Mordecai just stops. He quits the park. He picks up painting again, something that he'd walked away from years earlier when he dropped out of art school, before the show even started, before Margaret, before CJ. Just because it's the thing he actually wants to do. And the show skips all of it. The healing, the growth, the figuring himself out part, we don't see any of that. Because sometimes that's private, it's individualistic. That's not really the point. Our individual journeys are never going to look like Mordecai's. But really, this, ladies and gentlemen, is the point of the show. It's just life. It's just a guy quietly becoming someone. And sometimes that is not the dramatic part. That is not what we want to focus on. It's the background stuff, the stuff that happens quietly on our own time and takes an indefinite amount of time. The next moment we see Mordecai, it's the 25-year reunion. He's successful. He's at an art gallery signing prints of his work. And across the room, a Batwoman is signing her own work at another table. They accidentally bump into each other. And that's it. Just two people in a room who both built something worth being proud of and who noticed each other. And then the montage tells you the rest. They get married, they have 3 kids, and at the reunion, they're sitting with the whole group, settled and warm
Oh,
and genuinely content. This
Pops.
woman has no lines. The writer didn't even give her a name during production. A fan literally had to ask the head writer after the finale, and he basically said,
I'm a rock
star in
this
sure, let's
prime.
just call her Steph.
I'm a rock star
She'd
in this
exist in
time.
maybe 30 seconds of screen time
Eradicator.
across the
36.
entire
Hello,
series.
welcome, welcome. My name is
This
Apple
kind of looks a bit
Mackintosh.
lazy
I'm
at
an
first,
owl
like the
artist
show
happy
didn't
tour,
know
and
how
I'm
to
so
close
to have you
Mordecai's
here.
arc, so
Welcome,
it just
welcome.
gestured
I'm
at a
drawing
happy ending and
emotes
rolled
and I'm
credits.
watching
But
Cartoon
I do
Beat.
think that is actually
I
the
hope
most
that you enjoy
honest
your
thing
sick.
the show could have done.
Yes.
Because
Rem.
Steph wasn't the point.
Rem.
Sorry, Steph. The point
Rem.
is that Mordecai, who spent 6 seasons unable to say
I
what he
wonder
felt,
why the
unable to
video's not
release what he
showing.
lost, unable to be present in any relationship because
What's that
part of him was
showing?
always somewhere else, that guy,
Here
however
you
it
are.
happened, grew into someone who could meet a person in an art gallery and just be there, in that moment, with the
Oh
actual person in
no.
front of him, and
Oh
develop a
no.
long-term, lasting,
Not sure.
loving
Oh
relationship.
no.
He had learned from his mistakes
Oh!
and was able to move
My
on.
bad.
And the
Sorry.
lessons that we needed to learn,
Sorry, my
the
bad.
lessons in the show,
Oopsie
they came
whoops.
from the dramatic moments,
Oopsie
not even the
whoops.
healing or the time it took on his own,
I think
because a lot of
he
that
should.
just happened inside his head and from
Yes.
random moments on the street. Mordecai, during the show, was never ready for Margaret or CJ, and that was the point. That was the journey we needed to see. He wasn't yet someone who could hold a relationship without either clinging to it or drifting out of it or having some other avoidance issue. He couldn't find someone like Steph while he was still trying to get back to Margaret. He couldn't find her while he was still trying to prove himself worthy of CJ. He found her when he stopped measuring himself by whether someone loved him and started building
Okay.
something worth loving.
This is actually,
And again,
that's actually a good
sometimes that
point.
just takes a while and it's not the most fun to watch.
That's actually a
That's
good
why
point.
Steph has no lines. That's why she barely even has a name. By
Yeah,
the time Mordecai meets her, the
that's
drama is
actually a
finished.
great point.
The time has passed. He's become a different person. What's left is just a life. And a normal life, a regular one, some
See
could
you,
say,
Randy!
doesn't
Take
mean
care, be
married life.
safe!
So, what does Mordecai's love life actually teach us? We're not giving you the comfortable version here. We're not giving you the answer to how to actually overcome your emotions and to become that future person. That's on you. That's something that you have to learn
Yeah,
from our
you
lessons
do.
and from plenty of other lessons, but this isn't about be patient, your person is out there. That's a fortune cookie, right? That's not what this show or what we are saying. What we're saying and what the show is saying is that sometimes, yeah, it's harder than that, and you go
Yeah.
through things, and it takes time. Every time Mordecai failed, which was many times, it was because he was gripping something too tightly to receive anything new. He had this idea, this vision in his head about what things were supposed to look like.
Mm-hmm.
With Margaret, he gripped his fear, his uncertainty so hard that he turned 4 years of mutual feelings into a closed window. With CJ, he gripped the past so hard that he couldn't be fully present in something real that was happening right in front of him.
Yeah.
And after both of them were gone, he gripped the heartbreak itself and held on really tight. He made it his whole identity. He moved to a metaphorical island and put on a bathrobe and just stayed there. Every stage of letting go cost him something real. That is the part nobody tells you. It's not a relief when it happens. It's not this immediate thing. It just feels like loss every single time. Letting go of the fear felt like exposure and embarrassment. Letting go of Margaret felt like grief. Letting go of the CJ version of himself felt like not knowing who he was anymore and
Yeah.
not knowing what he even wanted. Letting go of the fantasy future in Just Friends felt like choosing less, even though it was actually choosing real. But each time he released something, a part of himself, he learned a lesson. He got a little closer to himself, and the version of Mordecai
It
who walked into
reminds
that art
me
gallery,
of
that
the
guy is
journey
the
that I've been
accumulated result of
trying
every one of
to
those
take
losses and all of the
for
gains
my
he made since then.
self-growth.
The show is telling you that you can't find love, you can't make love, you can't fall into love, or more accurately, you can't be with your love until you've done the work of letting go, of the
Mhm.
person you've lost, of the self you've lost, of the story you built around this person, of the
Mhm.
version of yourself that needed that story in the first place. The person
Man,
who
what a
finally
good
receives love
freaking
isn't
baby.
the one who even wanted it the most necessarily. It's the one who stopped needing it to complete them, and then went through another journey, became a complete person first, and loved with their full heart. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching. Sorry about the bit of a
What
sore throat
a
this time.
gosh
Something's
darn
going around and it's
good
not just
video.
love, am I right?
That
But
was
wherever you are in this
crazy.
process,
I
wherever you
really liked it. I really liked it. I was expecting something completely different. I don't know what I was expecting, but I wasn't expecting that. Ooh. Yeah, yeah. I'm thinking me, me, Degeneracy. Let's watch the Degeneracy. Degeneracy. Let's see who this guy is.
Of all the Newgrounds legends still active today, none are more mysterious than Spaz Kid. Stretching from obscene animations from the mid-2010s to current-day memes that baffle those not in the know, Spaz Kid, also known as Corey Beck, has been an integral part of internet animation for almost 2 decades. And
I
somehow,
don't
despite
know
all
who
that time
he
online,
is.
he's managed to remain something of a mystery. In this video, I'm going to gather together all available information, featuring the
Okay.
highs, lows, misadventures, and controversies that shaped the character we all know today. And hopefully by the end, we'll be able to better understand the enigma that is Spaz Kid. Let's start at
I
the
don't know who
beginning.
he
Corey
is.
J. Beck was
Okay.
born September 7th, 1990, in St. Louis.
Bro,
Missouri.
you're not
Most
giving me.
details of
I
his
don't give a crap. Ew, Shadman, disgusting. Ew, ew, disgusting creature, yucky. Ew, ew, ew. All my friends hate Shadman. Twitter's most famous artist. It's, no, it's going to be Rage Bait. Downfall of Dolan? Who is this? Dude! Fortune's most disturbing locale? It can't be that bad, right? Oh, this person. Surely it can't be that bad, right? Right? Right. It's surely.
Hi there, Lily, my love. Hi, Lily. I love you, Lily.
Meet Timbox, a man so obsessed with cartoons that he once threatened to assault the director's wife, all because his favorite cartoon character died in a show. Tim's love for 2D characters gets weirder the more you look into it. He confessed to have wet dreams about Pebble and the penguin, and even had a crush on the snake from Kung Fu Panda. It's important to mention that he's 21 years old, by the way. But what really made Tim's online presence creepy was his obsession with underaged cartoon characters.
Ew,
Most
yucky.
notably, Lily from Dexter's Lab, who he wanted to marry and even made a whole movie about her. Whenever people called him out for being a PDF file or a degenerate, Tim would completely crash out, sending death threats or being straight up racist and homophobic. Today we're gonna have a look at the story of Timothy Robert Mackenzie, one of the most disturbing and delusional lolcows on the internet, better known as Timbox. Timothy was born on the May of 1991 in Baltimore, and was diagnosed with Asperger's when he was just a little kid. Because of this, he would develop a very quiet personality and would spend a lot of time home watching TV. And that will later explain his insane obsession with characters from Cartoon Network shows like The Powerpuff Girls, Samurai Jack, or love of his life, Lily from Dexter's Lab, an underage 2D character who really stole Timothy's heart. This was his wifey, you know? And Timothy did in fact post some very disturbing things about her online. He also became kinda racist, but we will talk about that a little later. Due to his autism and parents taking way too much care of him basically, he didn't really develop any social skills and he didn't make any friends in school, which only made matters worse. He wasn't able to talk at all until he was like 7 years old, and due to his condition, he was able to finish school only when he was 21. We don't really know much about his school life.
I understand that. I'm not going to criticize him for that.
That he later deleted, sadly. We know that he really didn't like studying. Instead, he was actively trying to impress girls, and he only liked Asian girls. Probably because all his childhood he was watching Lily from Dexter's Lab 24/7. He tried to flirt by stalking them and showing them his knowledge about dinosaurs. He is also hyperfixated on those as well.
Give me a sec. Give me a sec.
You guys.
Let me give you a shout out. Lumi, Celestine. Wait, I wrote it wrong. Give me a second. Lumi, Celestine. Everyone, Lumi is holding a marathon with Streamloots cards. She's currently trying to raise some funds, if I'm not wrong, for a new VTuber model. If I'm not wrong, please give her a follow, support her, go to her streams, buy Streamloots packs. They are like maybe $5. Like everything counts. Everyone, thank you so much for following her. Let's give her a support. Hell yeah. All right, Lumi. What's popping? What is popping? What's popping? I am trying to get things done. I am specifically raising more for the it's for the rigging itself. Oh, for the rigging itself. Good, 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 good. Sounds like a VTuber. Like, yeah, yeah, I get you. Hi, baby. Do I still have Monster? I ran out of Monster. Oh no, I understand you. I understand what you mean. I tried rigging a couple of times, and yeah, I don't like that. I don't like it. No, ew, like, dude, like, what do you mean? Like, no, yeah, I have this software and everything. No, nah, bro, no. I'm here to make models, if anything, but I'm happy with my customizable model because I can do just anything with it. I make whatever model I want. I'm gonna take off my. No, I'm not going to open this. What is that? Close it. I can just like make whatever model I want with this. It was like $120, and that's it. Oh, if I will be able to get my dream model, which is like $1,000, my dream model from my dream mama. Like to this scare when you're perfection ugly, there was yeah. It's overcoming perfectionism is difficult. It's very difficult, and I understand that to a degree because I have that problem with comics. I don't have that problem with my commissions. I don't have that problem with things that I already do. But when it comes to my actual projects that you guys don't know about, I am debilitatingly a perfectionist, and I don't even want to start trying because I don't want it to be bad on the first try, and I need it to be perfect, or else, like, what's the point? Because I don't want people to judge me for it, or be like, this sucks, and it's something that I love so much that it's so important to me. So yeah, I get you. I do. I get you. I get you. I get you. I get you. I don't want to watch this video anymore. I want to watch something different. And that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna watch something different. Because I don't know. Shmorky from Edgy Animator to I don't wanna watch that. The parents behind the monsters, yeah. I don't wanna watch that either. They definitely shut up. That's not funny. What happens when we abandon vulnerable people? Yeah, the meep healed. Oh my god, it's bro, bro. Yeah, I don't care about any of these videos. I'm going to look for something different. No gym. What do you mean? Just stop going to the gym? I need to be strong. What is this? Y'all so weird. Let me watch this. I'm gonna see if I agree or if I disagree. I'm gonna see. I think I'm going to disagree. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. Girl.
Once again, the internet is annoying.
Girl.
I'm so not so, and I think it's time to
Girl. Go off. Girl,
I'm running out of funny lyrics.
girl, I don't know what's going on. I'm gonna go take these to my fridge and I'll be back. 'Cause I don't know, man. I don't know. Oh, I mean, good for you. I don't know. I'm back. I'm back. Hey, what's up? Hmm.
Sup, fellow quacks. Happy Black History Month. I noticed that the art community is very strange when it comes to black characters. I wanted to rant about it because I'm kind of tired of it. And as a black person, I just find the way I've seen black characters be treated to just be very frustrating. And being black on the internet, especially nowadays, is just so hard. So, the first thing is learn helplessness. I find that a lot of
Okay.
artists really like to victimize themselves because
Yeah.
they try to act like, I don't know how to draw black people. And
Yeah.
then
That's
they
true.
don't look for tutorials or ask for
They don't
help.
even try.
It's like at some point I'm starting to wonder if they're just doing it like for a bit or something, because how are you gonna say you don't know how to draw something and then you don't look up any
Hi,
tutorials,
baby.
and if someone does
Hi,
send you some
baby.
help you just ignore it, or you're like, well, I don't know, this won't fit my style, like, I don't know,
It doesn't
guys,
fit my
like
style. I hate that.
so just don't bother then. Like, if you're gonna be like that, just don't bother drawing black people, because it feels like those people only want to draw black characters because they want to appease like some invisible crowd that's like forcing them, or in their minds forcing them to draw black characters. Nobody's forcing anyone to draw black characters, by the way. And if you are someone who feels a need to say that to somebody, that's a you problem, and stop doing that. There is nothing wrong with wanting to see more representation, but we shouldn't force it from people. Because forced representation, in my opinion, is only when it's from somebody that only does it to appease others in a way that's not like genuine. So
Yeah,
it's fake.
not
It's kind of
organic.
done for the sake of like, here, damn, take your damn representation and go. Like, I don't like that. That's what I would say is forced representation.
Yeah.
Forced representation isn't just characters existing. Like, that's what I think it is. One small thing I want to mention is how black people get tone policed a lot for just providing criticism for portraying black characters properly, because God forbid you give constructive criticism, suddenly you're aggressive and rude, which is like,
Oh yeah.
okay,
Because you're
so
so
now we're rude and
aggressive.
aggressive
The
for just saying,
Negroes
hey,
are
maybe
so
we shouldn't have
aggressive.
like
Oh my god.
descriptions like
Because that has
urban or
happened to
whatever.
me.
No, that's bad, guys.
That
We
has
can't do that. We
happened to
can't give
me. That
advice
happened
now.
to me on
It's like we can never
Twitter.
win. It's like we don't give
And
advice,
that's
then
why
those
I no
people
longer
that say they
messed
can't do
with
anything, they can't look up
our
tutorials, they
Twitter
don't know how to
back
draw
in the
black people in
day.
styles, they'll just bitch and whine about it. But then if you give them advice, they'll bitch and whine about how you're being aggressive towards them and you're attacking them. So it's like we can't win. I can't with these
We
people.
really
It's like
can't.
this is literally an actual good use of that one two where they said, "Oh my gosh, you people can't do anything." Like, this is genuinely a good time to use that, because these people can't do anything. They just seem like they they can't. They can't look up tutorials, they can't ask for help, and if they do get help, they just push it away because they
Hmm.
see the people that trying to help them as aggressive, so like, why bother, you know?
Yeah.
Anyway,
Why bother?
earlier I mentioned forced representation, and I feel like a lot of people feel this like invisible pressure to make black characters just to appease to
Yeah.
somebody. And listen, as a black person, I don't care if you don't have black characters, okay? Make whatever characters you want. I'm not gonna force you to do that, and nobody should. You shouldn't feel the urge to have any type of minority character if you don't want to. If you want all your characters to be like silly Gleep Glorp aliens, then do that. That's fine.
I
I
want
mean, there
brisket.
might be
I've
reasons why
never
that
had
might be a
brisket. I
problem,
want
and
to
if
have
you're like, oh, I can't
brisket.
draw black people in my style, then I'm gonna be
I
like, okay,
want
I'm gonna side eye you a
brisket.
bit. But if it's just like, oh, I prefer to have
Hello
these types of characters,
again.
or
Hi.
I like
Hi,
characters from my own culture, then
Gaylord.
that's great, awesome.
Oh, it
I
isn't?
don't want
Then what it
half-assed
is? What
representation.
is it?
That's why I'm not a fan of like live-action remakes where they make the characters black, and not because like woke stuff. I find that so stupid, and I hate how woke has been used in an evil way. We should reclaim it. It's actually a good word, But anyway, like, I don't like it because I don't want a repackaged
Ah,
version of a black
beef.
character. I
Like
want an
beef
original
with
black character.
pork?
I don't want scraps. I don't want half-assery. And I don't
Like,
want half-assery from OC creators either. If you want a black character, make one. But don't give me half-assery. Don't give me, here, damn. Give me something that comes from a place of I wanted to make a black character and I wanted to make them good. Something else I've noticed is that there will be people in the community that will feel the need to question why someone has black characters or like why are they black when they comment on some random post of theirs, and it's just
that's.
like we can't win, can
Oh
we?
my
I have
god,
noticed,
that
like,
had
every
to
other
melt
community
in
outside
my.
art,
That
people always have
sounds
to
so
justify their
shit.
existence. Like, oh,
Thanks,
you see a black character in a video
That
game.
sounds
Well, the video game's woke
delicious.
now. Why is this black character in this game?
I
Oh,
think
there's
I
a new
deserve a
fantasy
black.
movie coming out. Why is
I
there a black
think I
character in
deserve
this? That's not
a
realistic.
single
Why is there a
blue
black
black.
character in this or that? It's like,
Yes.
why can't we exist anywhere? And mind you, the same people that will say like, oh, well, you guys are taking up space and, you know, making everything woke, make your own stuff, and then we do, and then
Then we do.
those same people will go out of their way to come to our communities and come to our OCs and comment, why are they black? Like, why don't you just piss off? Like, why can't we
Yeah.
just have our own characters in peace? Why is
Yeah.
it that whenever black people do anything, suddenly everyone's got to question it, suddenly everyone's got to be like, justify it, why are you black? No one's gonna ask why someone's OCs are white. No one ever asks why someone's OCs are white. I find that very interesting, but we gotta justify why someone's characters are black. Huh. Funny how that works. You know, one thing in this community that I really hate is when an artist will
I'm
make like a
hungry.
stereotypical looking character.
No, I'm not hungry. I'm
and
craving
they
which
get
is
called out
different.
for only for them to deflect and play innocent, or for their fans to come to their defense and treat any black person that says, hey, artist, you know, this portrayal of black people is kind of offensive. Can you like not do that? And suddenly, the black people criticizing the artists are the evil bad guys, and the artist
Yeah.
is some poor little itty bitty soul being attacked by the mean, nasty black people who are, you know, being too
The
woke.
poor babies are
No,
getting the
if I
check
see a
with
racist
the
looking caricature, I'm
black
gonna call it out.
people.
But God forbid you argue with some of these people. They'll
Tasty.
weaponize their mental illness or say like their culture or country that they came from made them that way. Like, oh, I'm sorry guys, I came from like some itty bitty little country. We don't have black people here. I didn't know better, guys. Oopsie. Like, you knew better. You spent the
Yeah.
time drawing that, so you knew. You had the
Yeah.
time. You made the decision to post that. You made the decision to sit there and sketch that out. So
Yeah.
you did that for some reason. I don't know why people do this. I don't know if it's like rage bait. Do you all just do this for fun? Like, I don't get what people get out of making this like a thing. What is there to be gained from making a racist stereotype and then posting it and playing the victim when you get called out for it? Like, what the
Rage
fuck
bait.
did you expect to happen?
Because they
Why are we
hate
always the butt of the
black
joke?
people.
Why are we always
They
the ones being
hate
told it's not
us
that deep,
so.
it's not this or that? Why are we always told that? Like, yes, it is that deep actually.
It
I'm tired of
is.
people telling us that, no, you're being too sensitive. No, we're not being too
No, we're
sensitive.
not. We're not sensitive.
Sometimes that sensitivity is actually
Yeah,
just
little
sensing the little
babies.
microaggressions that happen because
Like they
we've
do
been
it on
conditioned to
purpose.
think
They do it
that
on
our pain
purpose.
is
It's like
basically
there
you.
was actually Lumi. I don't know if you remember, when Sword and Shield came out, and people were crazy for the water gym leader, and then there was a trend of people from 4chan of drawing her as a white person to rage bait people. It was some ugly shit. Yeah, they also drew her like a gorilla fan. It was bad. I don't understand how people can have that much hate in their hearts. It's weird. It's weird. I don't get it.
Meaningless, and it's not. You're allowed to feel how you want to feel. If something makes you uncomfortable, you're allowed to feel that way. And I'm tired of pretending that we have to hide our feelings so that way we can make, you know, non-black people comfortable because they aren't comfortable with us. It's so annoying. To end this video off, I wanted to talk about, like, representation as a whole. There's a difference between, like, everyone has to look like me and I just would like to see more of me. And I don't even think it's just me. I just want to see more black characters in general, you know?
Hmm.
I kind of hate that
You know
we
what I
still
want
need
to
to more
see?
black
I want to
characters
see
seen as, like,
more Afro
self-centered in some sort of way.
Latinos.
I relate to a lot
I
of
want to
characters that aren't
see
black, so it's not like,
black Latinos
you know,
because
I can't
I've
relate to
seen
anyone
a
that isn't
handful
black.
of like
That's obviously not the
black
case. It's just,
characters,
it
but
would be nice to see
not
more black
like
characters. It would be nice to see more
Latin
stories that actually
American
feel
black
relatable to black people
characters
because,
because Latin
let's
America
be
is
honest, a lot of our
often
media is
people
trope
when
porn.
people
I'm
hear
kind of
Latin
tired
America
of
they
that, and there
think
are good works
Brazil
out there
or
that
Mexico.
exist that aren't
They
overseas,
don't
and it's great,
like you know
but it
they
really
think
sucks that we
about
can't get a
that
lot of that
olive
because it
brown
feels like the people.
skin tone or black people in Brazil, and I want something in the middle. I want people who look like me, who are. I'm gonna make sure to stay within the purple ranks unless I possibly back there or leave it alone. Yeah, it's like even a small change in skin tone is nothing. It's like they purposefully drew her white, blonde, like it was like a purposeful mean attack. It was great, great. It was great, great. OC's worst tropes, yeah, give it to me. Give it to me. Yeah, the internet doesn't understand character design either. I'm gonna look at the tropes and see if I agree or if I don't.
It's been almost 5 months.
Shame! Shame! Shame!
To ease back into making videos, I wanted to do something I'm best at, complaining. And if you're one of my siblings watching this, you know that fact all too well. I love to complain about things, especially if they're art related.
Yay! I will check. Let me finish this
You
shading
ever
real
use
quick.
Toy House? It sucks.
I'll be with you.
Of course, a little disclaimer. This is just my opinion, and if you disagree
Stop
with me, you're wrong. Anyways, let's get into it.
6-1. 6-1.
Ooh, starting off strong with a pretty widely hated one, and that's the... How do I describe this one? Evil dark-skinned character x nice light-skinned character.
Oh!
If it isn't self-explanatory,
Right.
the trope is basically where the kind-hearted, innocent, typically feminine character in the relationship has white skin and is juxtaposed by the love interest who is brutish, edgy, usually masculine, and has dark skin. The reason I despise this trope so much, besides the obvious, is that they use something I like to call racially motivated visual shorthands.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot. And a lot of artists either
No, I know what it
consciously or
is.
subconsciously will use that when creating their opposite aesthetic couples.
Yeah.
This trope is especially popular in fantasy stories, specifically like anime and manhwa and stuff like that. It's everywhere and no one seems to see a problem with it. I feel like I'm going insane.
Yeah.
It's so boring. It's like whenever I
hate
see a
it.
couple like this, I'm always like, oh yeah, I can
I
immediately
can
tell which
name
one's supposed to be
a
the,
few
the
manhwas
top.
like that.
You rarely ever see the opposite of this trope either. I don't know. I don't have much to say about this, but it's weird.
It's weird.
Get out of here. Get out of here. Okay, this one's a little less serious and not an issue in the slightest, but I need to speak my truth. I hate the Y2K nerd archetype. Okay, I said it. I said it. This type of character
What you
seems to
mean?
have had a big resurgence like last year, 2024, and I admit I fell for the propaganda as well. Namely, with 1OC, we're not gonna talk about him right now. Though as of late, I've sort of pivoted his character, and it made me think this specific niche of character is like it's so boring. I've realized this trope has nothing to offer. It's the same skinny guy.
No,
with
it's
glasses,
not.
Braces.
Don't
shaggy
say
brown
that.
hair,
I am a
and it just got
Y2K
super
nerd.
old
What are
so
you talking
quick.
about, bro?
I used to love this, and I know then I start seeing it everywhere.
I
Like, you see
mean,
every artist and
then
their
the
mama
girls
making
are
OC
not
like this,
being
and I
creative. Don't
I
say
mean, I
it.
get that it's supposed to be the same kind of 90s, early 2000s
Mama, don't say
comedy
that.
type vibe, but like you couldn't add anything else to the character. Like, okay, he's a nerd.
Yes, I
But
can.
that's so vague. What is he a nerd about? Like, there's so many types of
That's
nerds.
just poor
And also, where are
execution.
the female nerds? Where are the girl nerd representation? You
Don't
guys are just making the same type of guy.
don't
And
blame
also,
the
I
message.
noticed
Blame
all
the
of them are
message
perverts.
here.
Like, not a single one isn't like a stalker. Like how did this happen? It's like we went backwards and started to associate being kooky and a little weird with being a literal danger to society.
What? Mama, what
Honestly, if this is
kinda?
how LCs be acting,
Oh,
they
sorry.
deserve to get bullied by
Wow.
the jock or mean girl character in the story. There probably is one, to be honest.
The hell?
They don't deserve love. Get out of here. But I know
I don't know what
the
you're talking
nerd-loving
about.
girlies are gonna come after me.
I don't
Like,
know what you're talking
listen,
about.
I'm one of you. I swear. Like, I'm being a little bit hypocritical because when I was watching Dispatch, Waterboy was literally my favorite character. Like, this is live footage of me seeing him for the first time.
Me,
Alright,
me.
yeah, whatever. Next story.
Woman in yaoi. Oh, I hate that.
A little bit odd, but trust me, you'll know what I mean when I
Disposable
describe
woman
it.
syndrome. I hate
Maybe
that.
if you've ever watched BL before, if you had a BL phase, or if you still are in that phase, or if that's just who you are, you'll know what I'm talking about. The
Yeah.
predecessor of this trope is seen a lot in movies and TV, whether it be a wife, girlfriend, daughter, sister, mother, just a disposable woman who is merely a plot device to serve the male character, main male
Mhm.
character. While this trope is very common, I want to talk about it specifically in the realm of pure male romance. When I used to read BL, any drama, tension, or conflict in the story, they seem to think the best way to add that is to just add a woman to cause
Perfect.
trouble because women. Am I right, fellas? Bonus points if she's one of the male lead's original partner who he's actively cheating on. Why is this a
Gonna
thing?
check what you
For
said.
some reason, that's like eerily common. And I even see it in OC spaces. Y'all might be thinking, damn girl, this is so oddly specific. It's because I've seen it. I'm not even making these up. I've seen it over and over again. Another iteration of this, not to do with BL or anything, mothers who, pardon my crudeness, are essentially there to carry the male character's child and die or leave like a fucking male ant or a bee. Because it seems
wanna
the
eat
general
that.
media and in turn the OC community is literally obsessed with single fathers. Single mothers, not so much. But
Yeah.
let's not dwell on that too much. It's like, if you
Yeah.
want to give your character a child, but not someone to create the child with, they can always just adopt one. Why does it have to be a biological child?
Yeah,
Instead,
it's
let's
like
just give the guy an irrelevant ex-wife or ex-girlfriend or dead
the
wife,
bad
so he can have a
woman.
biological child. Well, why? Or even better, she just leaves. She just gone. Where did she go? I don't know. I've gone in the past 8 months. I've been gone. I've went insane. I just want to let you know that. Next trope.
Two evil OCs?
All right. Next one. Trigger warning. That's it. I want to talk about something I've seen a lot in the OC community, and that's like this weird obsession with extremely morally deplorable, frankly, evil niggas being glorified to no end.
Yeah.
I mean, sure, I have some pretty messed up characters myself, but wanted to turn to a dick measuring contest to see who can create the most reprehensible, generally revolting people in history.
Yeah.
As if mass murder
The
was
girls
enough.
are
It isn't
on
enough for these
something.
People out here creating whole sex offender registries with their OCs. And God forbid you come up to one of these people with a, hey, maybe the way you're presenting these topics in your story is a little distasteful, a little bit disrespectful. You'd be lucky if they don't clock you in the back of the head right then and there. Or worse, go on a spiel about how you're trying to censor them and their freedom of speech.
Oh, yeah.
How am I censoring you? I'm just asking a question. I'm saying, do you think this is distasteful? Don't you think this might be distasteful, the way you're presenting these topics? No. I'm not telling you not to do these topics in your story at all. I'm just saying, stop yelling. I'm just saying maybe there's a better way to do this. I'm not infringing on your First Amendment right, because I'm not the government. I can't infringe upon your free speech. I'm not the government. Free speech is not freedom of opinions, people having opinions about you. Like, get it right, y'all. Read the fucking Constitution. I never read it. Sorry, what am I talking about? Like, they genuinely act like you are bringing back the Hays Code from the 1940s. There's also this thing I see some artists do. They'll say, I'm not glorifying this character. They're supposed to make you angry and uncomfortable. Okay, that's fine. I get it. But then I take one look at the character's gallery, the artwork this artist drew. Why do I see it's all just cute, sexy, aesthetic fan art of them? Because naturally, if
You
wanna
know,
show that a
like that
character is,
freaking disgusting
you'd probably
Korean
want to
webcomic
paint them in the least
with
flattering
the
light possible.
sadistic
Of course,
something
unless a part of the
something
story is that they're
with the
charming
yeah,
and they
you
use
know the
that
one.
to be a predator, you know. But you can tell the difference, right?
Yeah.
Am I insane for that? If disgust is really what you want the audience to feel,
Mhm.
I'm the audience, why would you even for a second want to depict them in a way that could make people misinterpret how you feel about this character's
That
actions?
will look
You know what I'm saying?
positive.
Like, if you want me to think, oh, damn, this character fucking sucks, you wouldn't then show the character being a nice, charitable person with no consequences, just as if they're the awesome main character. Would you? 'Cause I feel like there's some disconnect there.
Yeah.
I'm gonna expose myself a little bit. While none of my characters have done those type of crimes, I have some characters who are morally dubious, to say the least. One of them being the guy in the speed paint, Takashi. I mean, he's a cold-hearted, paranoid dude who lives in the woods, you know, stalking and heartlessly murdering anyone who strays too close, including a child. Pretty terrible stuff. So what you won't see me doing is drawing hot, sexy fan art of him. I draw him how I want him to be perceived. A weak, cowardly man who hides behind a false sense of superiority to justify taking the lives of others. Not that I'm saying, like, a better writer than these other people. I just that I have, like...
That's
I
an
have, like,
excellent point.
ultimate fear of my characters being misconstrued. Like,
It's an
how could you
excellent
not fear that? I fear that people... You have a character who's supposed to be a bad guy, and people accidentally, like, glorify them and think, wow, they're so cool. I would feel like shit. I would burn every copy of whatever book or story I made. Like, and also, like, you can have an evil character who doesn't have to be the most immoral, horrible person on earth and do the most shocking acts of human depravity. Like, damn, there's a lot of dirty deeds to go around. Like, there's plenty of things that make people a bad person that don't involve, like, this stuff that I see everywhere in our community. There's so many bad things you can do. Like,
Right?
I don't know, abandoning your children, exploiting the working class, medical malpractice, racism, sexism, being a landlord. There's so much stuff. I'm not entirely blaming everyone who's purposely added a horrific crime in their story just for the fuck of it. We were all kids once. Who I will blame is the grown adults who still think this is an acceptable thing to do and will call you a fascist if you call them out. Dude, does anyone know what that word's mean? Like, I
They
had
do.
someone on Tumblr call me a neo-fascist for saying that glorifying child abusers is bad. What? Okay.
Yeah.
That actually
That happens.
Next.
In front of my house. Matter of fact, we even got to pull up in front of my house. Pull up in front of the motherfucking precinct and let's bang out. Right down the block. You know where it's at. You study my own neighborhood. Or pull up in front of the Kmart and let's bang out. Then let's do it on Tampa. I go
Next trope, childhood meet cute. Not as romantic as it sounds. Alright, say you have a couple with an otherwise regular, wholesome relationship that we're meant to root for and want to watch blossom. But the caveat is that character A met character B when character B was a child and character A was an adult. But it's okay, because they only got together once B was an adult too. They always fail to mention how beyond creepy that is that A fostered a friendly relationship with a child only to turn around and be attracted to them when they turn into an adult. I'm mentioning a lot of dark topics today, huh? I'm sorry. Pet peeves, more like actually valid critiques. Am I right? These sound like cold takes, but I swear there are people who will argue to their grave, about these. You know, also we have a name for people like character A. They're called groomers, and the writer always tries to justify it by saying, well, character A wasn't attracted to character B until they got older. Yeah, definitely, sure. When B turned of age, just a flip switched in character A's head to say, damn, they're hot. Ew, go, bro.
Ew.
Yeah, I have a hard time believing that. Honestly, I'll be reading or watching a romance, and it'll be going so well until suddenly they reveal this. Instantly ruin the story. Maybe if you're writing a damn psychological horror, then sure, fine. But it's always the cutesy, wholesome romances, and they never call out the predatory dynamic and never question whether character B's feelings for character A are even genuine, or if they were just manipulated because they were a child when they met. Don't even get me started on the opposite, tangent, where there's a wholesome found family parent-child dynamic, and the writer
Usagi drop.
decides
Usagi drop.
to get together
Literally, Usagi drop. Thank you for telling me to save my art.
Because I don't know. There was this one manhwa.
Thank you for telling me to save my art.
Papa Wolf and the Puppy. It was so cute. It was about this little puppy named Potato. Well, they're humans in the rest of the story. But it's about this little baby named Potato who gets adopted by a mafia boss, and then mafia boss adopts a little baby. I'm absolutely loving it. Then the author started adding these little moments that were drawn a little weird, but contextually, they were fine. So, naturally, 15-year-old me justified it by saying, maybe that's their art style. Maybe they just accidentally drew it like that, and everyone in the comments was like, oh, the author draws BL, so of course they're gonna draw it like that. Of course they're gonna draw it, like, spicy, but it's not weird, though. It's not weird. Turns out
Mhm.
that despite Potato being raised by this guy since he was 4 years old and being the only father he has ever known,
Mm.
Potato has. And this sounds so stupid. His name is I know it's dumb. His name's fucking Potato. I'm sorry. Potato has an intense sexually charged crush on him.
What?
It just happens, and it's supposed to be seen as cute and silly. You don't know
That's
the rage and
disgusting.
betrayal I felt. I damn near got Usagi dropped.
The
Not even damn near,
betrayal
I just
is
did. So hook,
insane.
line, and sinker. What am I even talking about?
No,
Let's get to the
Mama.
next part.
I'm so sorry.
Alright, last one is definitely kind of obscure and more of a blink if you'll miss it,
Mhm.
or you probably just miss it. But I have a
Tell
question.
him.
There's a type of artist I'm talking about. Like they have very diverse OCs. Like the type of person who has very diverse OCs, very varied type of characters of different race, body type, gender, etc. Why some of these artists, when they draw black characters, women specifically, they're always overweight? Like there's nothing wrong with making a fat character, obviously. It's just that every other female character, or not even female, every other character is like thin or athletic, except for the black women. I'm sorry, it's giving stereotypical. It's giving a lot of things. Like it's going insane every time I see this pattern.
Mambo.
It's like, while actively feeding into racist stereotypes. You see what I mean here? It's like also they do the same with like other characters of other races. Like they'll always give them a trait, like one trait that's seen as stereotypical for this race.
Yeah.
It's not really. It's like
the
you have
diversity.
a group of characters, right? Let's say most of them are white. Like they're all diverse looking, but most of them are white. And then there'll be like one black character and one Asian character. The black character will always be overweight, or if they're a man, they'll be like cool, tough guy, whatever the hell. And the Asian character will always have glasses and a bowl cut. I don't know. I'm probably thinking way too much into this, but I feel like
I think this is about a specific artist that she doesn't like. And I want to know who it
notice
is.
it when I see it.
I want to know
Like,
what she's talking about.
Like, those two things and having those two traits
this
is not
is
inherently
so
bad, obviously.
specific.
That's like there's shit ton of people who have those traits.
This is so
But
specific.
it's like specifically giving them to those characters only is a little interesting. It's a little interesting. And don't get me started on when it's multiple times. They have multiple like black women OCs, all of them overweight, every single one. And I'm like, why? Like, wow, you're so diverse, but you have the same 5 characters repeated over and over again. It doesn't even stop there. Like, literally, me and my siblings were doing a game where when we see a black character in like Toy House or Art Fight, we counted how many had these 5 traits: aggressive, masculine, overweight, non-human / animalistic, or sassy. Almost all characters had at least 3. I know I sound insane,
Crazy.
but I know they're doing it on purpose. Maybe it's unintentional, but it feels like it's on purpose. You know what I'm saying? Because
No.
I've never.
Keep in mind, I'm sure that she knows. I'm sure that she knows. You have to keep in mind that it's not the same for a non-black person to be making a sassy black woman, a sassy, an aggressive, or whatever type black OC, and a black person making that type of character. I feel like it's not the same. It's not the same.
I've never had an issue with doing that. Like, go outside, look around you, like unless you're in Finland or something, which that. But the internet exists. You have phones. Oh my god, you guys, you have phones! I can't believe it. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm coming off a little agitated right now. I'm just sick of this trope. This
I'm gonna follow her.
This type of media. It's being paraded to me. It's being shoved in my face. Like, can we just take a second and maybe think the art we're creating might be perpetuating not great things? I don't know. Just food for thought. All right, that's all the tropes that should be struck down by lightning. Anyways, Wanted to say again, sorry for not posting. I know it's a pretty underwhelming video, but I'm getting back to the swing of things. Promise. Promise. I ran out of ideas despite only posting 4 videos. Trust. I'll lock in 2024? What? What year are you in? 2026?
How to make better OCs? How to make OCs people care
Being an
about?
OC artist is hard. I would know. I've been posting my OCs on the internet for over 10 years now. I've never been able to find much joy in fan art, so I've learned to adapt to the harsh social media algorithm and learn how to both improve and market my OCs. Not only that, but I've been in the roleplay sphere for an equal amount of time. Yes, I was an Amino warrior. Yes, I'm traumatized. Throughout my experience, I've also picked up a lot of wisdom when it comes to writing OCs, whether that be personality or backstory. All this to say that throughout my years of being properly OC-pilled, I've come across amazing characters and not so great characters. And I've learned many tips and tricks that I've implemented into my own OCs from those experiences. So I figured I'd make a video discussing not only how to better write your characters, but also how to post them online and make them stand out among the crowded algorithm us OC artists are often stuck in. This video will be divided into 3 sections: personality, backstory, and presentation. All key things when it comes to making and showing off OCs. Although I won't really be covering the design aspects of OCs, as a lot of my advice was already covered in the outfit design video a while back. I do also want to note that these tips are strictly my opinion and from my experience. I don't consider myself a professional writer or anything, so I'm not the arbiter of good versus bad writing, but I think I found some effective methods to thrive within my niche, so that's where all my opinions come from. But ultimately, write your characters how you want, because how you feel about your OCs matters the most. Don't change your beloved OCs just because a stranger on the internet told you to. But with that being said, let's not waste any time and just jump into the first section. I would argue a character's personality is the most important aspect, as this is what defines how a character interacts with others and is what the audience sees 99% of the time. I mean, there are some characters that have mediocre backstories, but because I enjoy seeing them on screen so much, I prefer them 100 times more to technically better written characters. With that said, I'll take Pinkie Pie over the best written character any day. But that's why coming up with a good personality is so important, so I'll be giving a few insights into how I write my characters and tips for improving their personalities. I also discuss personalities in the backstory segment, but that's neither here nor there. A lot of times I like building my characters' personalities off of tropes. Tropes can sometimes be used in a negative context, often seen as something overused and predictable. Like a person falling down while running away from a killer in a slasher movie, or the scene of the hacker character typing rapidly on a computer to hack into the mainframe. Similarly, there are also character tropes, like the strong but silent type or the silly comedic relief character. A lot of people try to fully diverge from tropes and make a whole unique character, but I feel like you can reduce almost any character to a trope. I mean, why do you think there's so many stereotypes? But regardless, I don't think having a character fall into a common trope is a bad thing. In fact, I often build off of it. If you're an artist posting online in a non-webtoon or story format, oftentimes people will only have brief encounters with your character. Usually people see one post and move on, so it's hard to fully communicate the intricacies of your character at a glance, much less capture their attention enough to do that. That's why I like using established tropes for my characters. There's a reason they exist after all. If I say my OC is a jock or nerd, you can instantly picture what that character may be like based on other characters with that trope in other pieces of media. I didn't have to say much of anything, and you can probably already imagine what they act like or even look like. But in order to not make a cliché character, I usually add onto that trope with other traits, sometimes contradicting. For example, in one of my concept art classes, we were tasked with making a group of characters. I decided to make a group of monster hunting grannies, contrasting the usually docile and sweet image people have of grandmas with a violent and gritty profession. Each character builds off of different grandmas you may have seen or encountered, but combined with the monster hunting twist. This granny is based on a crazy cat lady stereotype, but each cat she owns is a different type of cat monster. This other grandma is a sweet gardener type, but she uses her shears as a weapon and has a monster fanny pack. And this grandma was based on both wealthy older woman and women who go crazy for Ray Dunn pottery, wearing a werewolf as a fashion statement. With this example, you can see how I use different tropes as a basis for these characters, and with an added twist, they become much more unique than the stereotypes they're based on. Not only that, but because their basis is in tropes, I'm sure you're able to imagine what each character is like without me having to say much. You can probably imagine your grandma or another older woman you encountered who is like one of these ladies and project your experiences onto them. I think that's really the power of using tropes as an artist, because it allows your audience to fill in the gaps and take a lot out of a single image if they're just scrolling online and happen to see your work. Not only that, but it helps me a lot when it comes to figuring out my character's personality and giving them fun traits based on the tropes I'm pulling from. Speaking of which, I think adding fun quirks to your character can really make their personality feel much more unique and add to their realism. I mean, I'm sure you have your own little personality quirks, or at least know someone who does. I knew someone who ate corn on the cob by eating each individual kernel at a time, and someone who had a phobia of buttons. These small traits people have are what makes them unique, and it can really help differentiate your OC from others while making them feel like an actual person. It can also make characters feel less tropey or divert from certain tropes. I'm sure many of us know hundreds of stoic brooding characters. I'm usually not a fan of those types of characters, but if you have that stoic brooding badass who loves cute things or sweets, then I'm immediately charmed. So give your characters quirks. Give them likes, dislikes, or hobbies that might fit into their personality or possibly contrast it. Give them things they do when they're nervous or weird things they like to collect. It may seem like a small thing, but it adds so much to their character and differentiates them from other OCs. Another thing that helps with building a character's personality is considering their morality and motivations. What drives them? What type of people do they dislike, and what types of people do they like? Do they have a pessimistic view of the world or a positive one? Do they believe in the supernatural? What would they do in order to achieve their goals? I feel like thinking about this helps me determine how my characters would react in certain scenarios or interact with different characters. If my character doesn't like authority, perhaps they would hate situations in which they are told what to do or must follow rules, and hate characters with positions of authority. So having this in mind really helps me keep characters consistent when it comes to their actions. Of course, people in real life aren't consistent. One great tip my creative writing teacher gave me was that people are naturally hypocritical and will often do things against their beliefs. But I feel like you should still know why your character may go against their beliefs, and having that in mind can oddly enough still keep your character consistent despite having inconsistencies in their morals. Lastly, I want to shout out some tools I use to figure out my OC's personalities and flesh them out some more. I'll be linking some charts I enjoy filling out for my characters, as well as some questions on Tumblr that have helped me refine my characters. Honestly, Tumblr is a great place for finding character building questions, so I'd recommend it if you're stuck with an OC or just want to flesh them out. But with that, let's go ahead and move on to the next section, backstory. If you're on the internet at all, you might have seen some posts along the lines of, "I hate OCs with purely trauma-filled backstories," essentially when a character seemingly just has the worst life imaginable. The type of OC that has abusive parents and siblings whose whole purpose is to torment them, every single person in their life dies within a week of knowing them, lightning strikes them during every thunderstorm, etc., etc. Now, I don't think having an abundance of traumatizing events in a character's backstory is necessarily a bad thing. Many of these traumas happen in real life and can happen in quick succession. In fact, people born in hard circumstances often face even more troubles due to that, and it can be very hard to escape from the hand that they've been dealt with because of a lack of resources.
Yes.
So we really can't say that these things aren't realistic. A lot of characters in media can also fit into these descriptions as well. Jinx from Arcane is one example that comes to mind, both in her past and present. She's always seemingly encountering trouble and death at every corner. But I imagine a lot of people who hate OCs with exceptionally traumatic backstories love Jinx at the same time. But why is that? My theory is that a lot of people who write OCs with traumatic backstories often do it for pity, but good writers include trauma as a form of character building and to explain a character's actions. I've certainly encountered characters who fit the trauma-ridden character stereotype, and a lot of their entire personality and character revolve around their backstory, which is just trauma. It just seems more for the purpose of getting others to feel bad for their OC, but it's harder to empathize with a character that doesn't really have much else going for them. Jinx is often haunted by her past both physically and mentally, but we also see other sides of her. She continues her passion for adventure from childhood, and we get to see her be fun and playful as well as depressed and angry. Despite seeming quote-unquote crazy, we can understand a lot of her actions through her backstory, and they lay the groundwork for who she is in the present. I bring this up because I feel like the difference between a good backstory and a bad backstory is how it affects the character presently. A good backstory should explain why a character is the way that they are, and feed into their motivations and personality. In a similar vein, I think a big mistake a lot of people make when writing OCs is placing too much importance on the backstory, trying to make it complex and shocking while neglecting the personality aspect of the character. Why would a character's backstory matter if we don't care about the rest of them? Danganronpa is a pretty good example of this. In the game, you never really learn a character's backstory unless it's relevant to the plot, or you do free time events with them, which are completely optional. So through a single playthrough, you won't know a vast majority of characters' backstories. But regardless of that fact, people still adore the characters because their personalities are strong enough to stand on their own. And when you learn their backstories, it often just reinforces their personalities and makes you look at their behavior in a new light, understanding why they may act the way that they do. That's why I think backstory and personality are so intertwined, and if you're writing an OC, you should try to build them both together. A lot of the time, I'll start with a character's base personality, figuring out generally how they act so I have an idea of who they are in the present before looking to the past. After that point is when I think about backstory, usually considering a general theme I want to go for. For example, the original concept for my character Jun was a Yakuza turned babysitter, and I wanted his personality to kind of be like a stereotypical delinquent. From that concept, I figured I wanted his backstory and general character to revolve around themes of toxic masculinity and discrimination. Since the Yakuza is focused on hierarchy and is male-focused, whereas caring for children is often seen as women's work, I could use this as a basis for those themes. I also consider the history of Koreans in the Yakuza and how discrimination against Koreans in Japan pushed many of them into joining the Yakuza due to lack of opportunities. From this, I was able to write his backstory, that being how poor circumstances living in Japan as a Korean pushed him to join the Yakuza, and how he developed his toxic traits from both the culture of the Yakuza and the need to appear strong in order to avoid discrimination or being looked down on. You can already see how his backstory feeds into his character, defining the way he acts. And having a base idea of what themes I want to touch on, all aspects of his backstory and personality can feed into that and stay consistent. Using that backstory as a basis, I was then able to refine his personality more, deciding to make him someone who often lies about his achievements and tries to appear cool at all times, which makes sense due to his backstory of needing to be tough in order to avoid ridicule, which was reinforced both by his upbringing and prior profession. Having that system of making a base personality, deciding a backstory, and then refining the personality using the backstory has been a great system for me to be able to figure out what a character's backstory should be and how to keep their character consistent. And it doesn't need to end there. Oftentimes I'll go back to add on to the backstory once I flesh out the personality, adding more context to certain personality traits and continuing the cycle of personality feeding into backstory and vice versa. I think having a set theme I want to touch on with my character before writing out their backstory really helps me make characters feel more coherent and thought out. It also just helps me brainstorm and think of things a character could experience to represent that theme, like how I considered why toxic masculinity may develop or why someone may become a criminal in the example I mentioned earlier. Sometimes characters with tons of trauma can feel disjointed, like their backstory is never built to anything substantial, so thinking about what you want your backstory to achieve and how it can feed into your character's personality will really strengthen your OC's writing. Of course, normal people's lives aren't neat little things that fit into stories with a moral in them, but most well-written characters aren't strictly realistic. Instead, they serve to communicate a message or feed into a story's themes. That's usually how I write, and this advice is mostly for those who want to do the same. And don't think you have to limit yourself to strictly extreme trauma when writing a character. Sometimes even a lack of trauma can build an OC and
Welcome
make for a
back,
fun
Brandy!
backstory.
Welcome
One of my
back!
characters is meant to be a critique on game shows and how the wealthy often exploit the lower class for entertainment. So his backstory is that he was born a nepo baby and never really worked for anything he had, and thus feels satisfaction seeing others suffer to achieve their dreams. He never had anything bad happen to him or struggled in his life, but that backstory is why he is the way he is today. So lacking trauma can be just as impactful as having tons of it. Some people also just have abnormal traumas, occurrences that may seem normal to you but have severely changed someone else. Your character doesn't have to have the most unique backstory in the world in order to make them an effective character, but sometimes thinking outside the box when it comes to backstory can make them a much more compelling OC. I feel like I was mostly rambling throughout that section, but hopefully you gathered some of what I meant during that whole spiel. Essentially, when you write a character's backstory, try to consider how it feeds into their personality, and oftentimes thinking of an overall theme for their backstory can help with consistency and idea generation. This last section isn't about the content of your character per se, but rather how you present them. As artists, we constantly have to fight against an ever-changing algorithm that favors artists less and less. And as an OC artist, it can be significantly harder getting any traction on posts of your characters compared to fan art due to lack of any pre-established connection. So even if you have the best character in the world, it can be hard to garner any attention if you don't know how to post them right. As I mentioned before, I've been posting my OCs for about a decade now, and I've reached a point where some of my OC posts get more attention than my fan art. So this section consists of tips about better ways to post your characters so that more people care about them. Of course, attention on social media isn't the end-all be-all. If your posts aren't performing well, don't think of it as a failing on you or your characters. The algorithm is extremely harsh, and as long as you're happy with your characters, that's really all that matters. I mean, if I changed my OCs to conform to trends, it would just feel like I'm drawing fan art at that point. But I know as artists, we want others to appreciate all the work and time we put into our art and characters, so this is why this section exists. Firstly, I think the biggest mistake I see a lot of artists make is just posting static photos of their characters. Sure, it might be well executed and look nice, but how much can a portrait tell you about a character? When you post, people are only looking at your work for a few seconds, so you want to make those seconds count. I found that my posts are more successful when I'm showing my character doing something. Anything really. They could be pouring a cup of coffee in the morning, eating a snack, working their job, or interacting with a friend. Drawing your OC doing something can really show more of their personality than a plain portrait can. In fact, one of my most popular posts on Twitter is my OC just lying in bed. But even in such a simple drawing, you can see how some of his personality shows in the way he's lying, with the toast hanging out of his mouth. I also added small elements like silly socks and a fun tie hanging in the back. He only uses kids' cutlery because he has a fear of sharp objects, so I included that as well. Even the newspaper title Top 5 Shades of Grey tells you a bit about his personality and that he has many mundane interests. Drawing your OC in the middle of an action not only adds visual interest, but can tell a lot about your OC's personality through their body language and how they perform in action. After all, not everyone sits in a chair the same way or drinks from a cup the same way.
Pause. I'm gonna go pee. Be right back. Hood, do you have to tell us every single time when you're gonna go pee? Yes, I do have to. Putting on my drag again because it slipped off my head. And I need my hair protected from the frizz. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. And I'm gonna do it. How it looks. How it looks. My gift drag. It's tight. It's tight. Let's continue. Let's continue.
And adding small details like accessories they may own can add some charm to your characters and make your audience wonder why they may own certain things or imagine their personality. Even better than that, drawing your OC interacting with others is even better at showing their personality, and showing a dynamic between two characters can make your audience even more endeared to them. I often draw my two demon characters, Raz and Damon, together because you're able to see more aspects of their personality together. Damon being the unserious and violence-loving boss, whereas Raz is more no-nonsense and hardworking. Their interactions bring out each of those traits in each other, and drawing them interacting helps me explain their Fun character dynamics are always something that people gravitate towards. So drawing your OCs together can really help outsiders easily understand and love your characters. In fact, I didn't really see much success posting characters until I threw 3 of them together into a kind of ragtag criminal group. So who knows? Try throwing some characters together and see what sticks. My other piece of advice is not applicable to everyone, but it's what works in my posting style, so I thought it would be worth mentioning. A lot of times when I post character sketch dumps on social media, I try to have a very brief description of my character somewhere in the post. For example, I usually refer to my OC Stanley as my therapist OC and June as my Yakuza babysitter OC. But why is this so important? This goes back to the personality section and character tropes. Like I mentioned before, tropes can help you immediately understand a character and already imagine what they may be like. Usually these descriptions act as hooks for my characters, intended to capture the attention of my audience in a few words and make them want to know more about my OCs. Of course, they don't
Yeah, you
encompass
are.
the entirety of my OC's character, but sometimes knowing how to simplify your character into a quick hook can really help make your audience stay long enough to know your characters more in depth. You don't even have to describe the characters directly. Sometimes I use hooks for the world or dynamic, like Raz and Damon are my Hell Office AU OCs, and these two characters are usually described as villain X henchmen. It's kind of like how tags are used in movies and books to pique your interest. That's usually what I use them
Wait, no,
for, and
that's
to
just
add
not
more
what I
context to
mean.
the art I make of my characters. After all,
I
if you
need
know
the
Stanley is
rest
a
directly
therapist going
from
into these
Nota.
sketches, it might make more sense why he has
That's what
mugs
I'm going
with
to make.
motivational cats on them and dresses the way that he does. Hopefully those tips made some sense. I'm not a big advocate of changing your characters to fit trends. Instead, figuring out how to find the audience that will love your existing OCs by presenting them better. Social media is so short form and quick that knowing how to instantly capture a viewer's attention through your art and a short hook can really help when posting your characters online. So those are my tips and experience with making well-written and well-presented OCs. Hopefully this video isn't too
It
disjointed. I have a lot of thoughts and
okay, I guess. I hate this and I don't want to look at it. I hate all of this. I don't like to watch. I don't like this. I don't like it. I don't like this. I don't like this. I don't. I don't. Mhm. The full story exposed. Okay, I'm gonna watch. No, I don't need to watch it. It's gonna make me angry. It's gonna make me angry. I'm sure that it's going to make me angry. I know for a fact that it's going to make me angry. Oh yeah, let's watch some Arthur.
And today, Ugh, that was weird. Whew. I do feel a lot better though. Alright, let's just take it from the top. Hello, my name is Bubs, I'm an artist, and I like to hear myself talk, and today I'd like to hear myself talk about art tropes that really get on my nerves. Of course, this isn't the first time I've done this, but it will be a better time that I've done this. Pretend that sentence sounded good. I've actually been working on the script for a while because I realized I had more to talk about. Shocking, right? I had more to say about a given subject. Perish the thought. Still,
You're annoying. I mean, I'm going to listen to you. You
there
have good
are
opinions.
so many
Ah!
common things in writing and design and all that where, while I can understand why
Yes,
it's kind of a default
sir.
response of
Yes,
conflicts, I am so
sir.
completely exhausted on the
Yes,
concept.
sir.
And it's not a moral affront to God or anything, but it
Yes,
does displease
sir.
my sensibilities. And what better way to handle my annoyance and discomfort than to yap about it on the internet? Isn't that what it's for?
Exactly.
As a heads up, for this video, this particular batch of tropes are more about story stuff rather than strictly visual art tropes. I don't know if that matters to you, but the title could have led you to believe a different reality, so I want to clarify in case it does. Still, if you think about it, art is actually a very broad term which does include writing, so it isn't false advertising simply for the sake of having a consistent title scheme, and you can't be mad at me. Or I guess you can, but that would be a little silly of you, to be honest. Speaking of people being silly and getting mad at me, I have a disclaimer. If you're a returning viewer, you probably don't need to hear this, but if you're new around these here parts, firstly, hi, hello, welcome. And secondly, the people that were here last time were naughty, so now I'm obligated to say the following. Everything in this video is my opinion. I will provide examples of what I'm talking about and explain my reasoning for my opinions. This is not equivalent to me saying that the pieces of media from which I pull examples are terrible, especially since I often pull from things that I really love. It is also not equivalent to me stating my reasoning as objective fact that should be true for everyone. I am only stating what I know is true for me as an individual. This video would be entirely pointless if I were to say, I don't like when people do this thing, and then provide no examples or explanation. That's a list, not a discussion or critique. And if a list is what you're here for, then just read the video chapter titles and then you can leave, I guess. Also, please keep in mind that just because I don't personally like something existing as a trope doesn't mean I think it can never be interesting in any context or even that the trope itself is bad practice across the board. If you like the trope, that's great. If you have seen the trope done in an interesting way and want to tell me about it in the comments, that's also great. If you've written a story yourself that has done something like what I talk about here, that's the most great. Good on you for writing a story. So what if it includes one or two details that I don't personally enjoy? If you find a critique I have here valuable and you want to incorporate a change into your work, that's fine, but you should not completely switch up your view on anything just because I offered an opposing view. I am an internet stranger, and therefore should not shape the way you view the world all by myself, especially if it takes away from your fun. At the end of the day, this is all for the sake of fun for you and for me, and if there is a chance that this will make you upset, I encourage you to leave. You can come back some other time. You will not hurt my feelings. There. Now that's all out of the way, let us boogie right along to our very first trope, shall we?
Brains.
Okay, I know I'm starting off in a really odd place, but please, hear me out. While there is plenty of zombie-related media that I either currently enjoy or otherwise got a lot of enjoyment out of before the writers gave up, as a concept, zombie apocalypse is just kind of lame to me. Don't get me wrong,
I get
the
it.
idea of zombies is really cool from a narrative perspective. These monsters are people, twisted into lifeless husks that will turn on their loved ones and fellow man with animalistic rage, acting on the whims of a virus or sometimes fungus that exists only to replicate. That is a chilling concept.
It
especially
is.
if the reason for
I
it
will
is
hydrate
unknown
as
and
soon
or
as I have
invisible.
something to hydrate with. Thank
I
you.
cannot get over how unrealistic the concept
Thank you
is.
for the
I will
lurkies,
be there.
baby.
The
Thank you for
internet
the
has already discussed many times over
lurkies.
that a bag of decaying meat shambling through a hot Georgia summer would turn into a smelly goo pile long before Coral's little sister managed to unlock the speech skill tree. But I pose to you what I feel is a much more compelling argument. Weapons. Maybe you can convince me that something about whatever is creating the zombies is able to keep them from decaying, and after watching how people reacted in 2020 to a certain virus, I can definitely be convinced that lots of people would become zombies if for no other reason than ignoring the advice of medical professionals, government officials, and also common sense.
They
What I
did?
cannot be convinced of is that zombies would pose any kind of threat that could not be solved with humanity's proclivity for creating instruments of mass destruction. I am absolutely not posing the argument here that there could never be a truly devastating zombie-related
Oh.
virus that results in mass casualties, especially in conjunction with these instruments of mass destruction, and the consequences could be devastating on a global scale. But zombies shutting down the entire world? Unless it is set way in the past, I think it is pretty reasonable to assume news of some freaks popping out of the graveyard will get out there before too much damage is done, especially considering that most of the time you can put that thing back to sleep if you just smack its head hard enough with a blunt object. I mean, I personally grew up taking those suckers out with garden plants, so... I do understand that this is probably bias, born of growing up in a country with quote-unquote intruder drills at school, but come on, find a firearm, a hunting crossbow, maybe throw a can of beans at its skull, that might work. If all that requires a little too much precision, vehicular manslaughter could be a viable strategy. If an entire city is overrun, engage bomb strategy. I feel like, realistically, we could take care of zombies faster than they'd be able to turn folks. Zombies, to my knowledge, cannot self-replicate. I've yet to see a zombie, and I don't know that they'd be capable of mitosis. So if you stop letting people turn, you run out of zombies. Boom. End of the world never happens. I am, of course, oversimplifying and generalizing things here. There are many story reasons that you can add to your world building that gets around the believability problems above. Maybe everyone is infected and the illness only activates when you kick the bucket, so there's always a danger. Maybe the government was doing evil bioengineering and they're intentionally covering up information to cover their hides, and also see how this all works out. Maybe zombies are not actually a fictional concept already, and so no one has any idea what this could be. Take into account that the enemy would be your coworkers, neighbors, family, and not some kind of wild animal or nameless monster, and now you're dealing with people very unwilling to pull the trigger. Plus, there's all that zombie media that buffs the zombies so that they're actually more effective threats than they would have been while alive, turning them into spore spewers or acid spitters, which actually does catch my interest a little more than your average zombie affair. Still, I have my doubts that global reaction
Hello?
that zombies would be able to end human
Martin,
civilization as
hello, welcome. My name is Applehook Macintosh. I am an what am I? I am an owl streamer VTuber. Thank you for coming. Hi.
to maintain the threat, specifically by being stupid as hell or evil as hell. I get that it's realistic that if the world went to shit, humanity will be its own worst enemy. There would be a brutal competition for scarce resources, and some people just suck. That's just how the cookie crumbles.
It is
Still,
how it is.
when zombies are supposed to be scary, it's a little goofy that after the initial zombies kind of subsides, zombies rarely get kills unless people are actively ignoring the precautions that they have already learned not to ignore. I guess people dying to stupidity in horror or horror-adjacent media isn't exactly unique to zombies, but still, individual zombies are rarely much of a threat and won't end up racking up victim after victim like the still living humans. I mean, come on. If you're anything like me and had a neglectfully permissive parent that allowed you to watch the Resident Evil films as a child, the stuff that stuck with you is everything that went down inside the spooky government facility.
It's
Specifically
a video. It's a video about art tropes that are kind of annoying.
The lasers, and also how hot Mila Jovovich is. And that one even has cool zombies. When people ask you what the scariest forces are in The Walking Dead, nobody thinks of the namesake of the show. They think of these motherfuckers.
Oh my god, hello, baby! Hello, baby!
Resident Evil, neither of these goons even had anything to do with
What's
why the zombie
popping?
apocalypse
Hello.
even started. They're just capitalizing on what's
Award.
already happened.
Afternoon! Yeah, it's afternoon.
Internalize that the most iconic and scary things within The Walking Dead stopped being The Walking Dead after, like, season 4.
Oh.
Side note, I'd like to start a petition
I
for
didn't
Jeffrey
know
Dean Morgan
that.
to stop being really scary and really mean to Stephen Yin during season finales of shows. It's only happened twice now, to my knowledge, but
Let me pause. Let me pause. Pause. I'm good. I'm coloring these, what is this? PNG tuber. I'm making a PNG tuber because I am the PNG tuber papa of NoTech Asopho. I have made, like most of his models, like most of his PNGs, I've made them myself. I am very proud of that fact. I really like making PNG models. And yeah, I'm playing around with the colors, playing around with the textures. I was meant to combine two things. I was meant to combine two PNGs. I mean, the PNG that I made back in the day, the summer and the live 2D model that I made for them. I'm the VTuber Papa. I am a VTuber Papa. These two I made myself. These two I made myself. And now I'm looking for the layer that has the sleeves. If you see the sleeves, say sleeves. Where are they? Where are they though? Here? Here? Oh, it's here. Okay, I combine a lot of things that should not go together. But hey, it is what it is, I guess. It is what it is. Yeah, I can work with this. I don't know actually. I think I want to remove these. No, because I like the asymmetry. I like the asymmetry. I think I'm going to make the bow, the ribbon. I think I'm gonna make it light green. Yeah, let's make it light green. Boom, 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 pow.
Doofenshmirtz meme. Secondary side note, the amount of crossover from The Walking Dead and Invincible cast is absolutely silly. They've even started to borrow from other AMC shows recently.
Oh.
And Michael Mouse is there.
Yeah!
Before you argue that
A
they're actual
Holmes
characters and therefore it's
girl.
an unfair
And
comparison.
Uma Musco.
Yeah, I'll
Uma
agree that it's a bit of
Musco.
an uneven playing field, but that's actually another issue I have with the genre and not a reason for me to be more charitable to it. Unless we're dealing with the zombie of an allied
Let's
character
select
that we've already
everything
gotten to
around.
know, there's rarely all that much
Oh.
to dig into. They're all just nameless and faceless bags of meat after a while. Very morbid, but it's how it goes.
Yeah,
I think
it
maybe
is
my
what it
main issue with zombies is that they have an
Horse
expiration
for
date,
me.
not just because they're
A horse
actively
for
rotting.
me.
No, I mean
A
more
pony
in a horror
boy,
sense.
if you
The
will.
thing about horror is that it relies on things being unexpected, surprising.
Select
If you know your enemy, the
selected
fear factor
area.
comes down a lot, and zombies are unfortunately pretty
Then
damn
we'll go
predictable
here.
by nature. Unless we're
Go
dealing
here.
with some modified zombies,
Boom.
we're up against corpses that don't
Boom.
grow or adapt or learn.
Then we'll go
They
here.
don't change tactics, and they
Get
have one
like a
goal,
golden
which
color.
also means that generally speaking, the threat level of zombies is entirely dependent on catching the victim off
here.
guard. As such, once your guard is high enough and you've learned all of what they can do,
Here.
the threat is gone, and then
And
zombies are just
here.
kind of a backdrop. They become
Oop.
relegated to a weapon used by other threats.
Oh,
maybe
Mama,
an
so
obstacle akin to a natural disaster rather than any kind of active entity. And at that point, I'm not sure why they're even here still. If you want to tell a story about the after apocalypse, why still have hordes of the undead? So I can be disappointed if a character dies what is now the lame way? If I'm gonna suspend my disbelief and buy into something that will wipe out the human race, I'd rather do it for a concept that feels a bit more actively terrifying in the long term, both in story and in visuals. Intelligent life from another planet wishing to conquer ours, eldritch cosmic terrors from beyond the stars that wish
Yeah,
to
this
eat our
looks better.
minds, demon armies from hell
Wait,
waging war
no,
against
no,
holy
hear me out.
creation,
Hold up.
some kind
Wait.
of terrifying animal species
Wait.
to the nest of a
Wait.
secret race of mole people that hate the surface
Wait
dwellers
for it.
potentially valid
Wait
reasons.
for it.
Sure. Maybe that stuff will feel a little less grounded in reality. There are plenty of viruses capable of hijacking people's nervous systems that actually exist, whereas I'm not sure on Cthulhu yet. Still, I think any of those are just a more interesting vessel to explore an apocalyptic event with. But hey, I still love Glenn and Abrams.
Yeah.
Yes, the start of season 7 was a bad day for me.
Based on real.
Kane and Lee, and I will never be
Think
tired
I
of my
want
Tank
to
to Shrek conversion mod for Left 4
Actually,
Dead
make
2.
it like a color.
Enough about
Actually.
zombies, though. On to the next trope.
You
Yeah.
poor ugly thing, you.
Just kidding.
I did
it's
that.
called action time.
Yeah.
If you guys enjoyed listening to my
You
after
guys
show,
enabled me.
I'd appreciate if you
That's
drop a like,
you
maybe
guys
consider
enabled.
subscribing if you
All
want
right.
to see more from me. That interaction is free for you, but
Let
it helps me out a
me-
ton.
I
It shows
love
YouTube that
stripper
the content
colors
I'm making is
too.
resonating
Like,
with people, and that means more people get to see it.
dab
That means
me
I get
up,
more
bro.
opportunity to make stuff in the future.
Dab me up.
Plus, if I slander one of your comfort shows later, you can always revoke those interactions as punishment. So, what's really the harm?
Let's see.
Okay,
Let's
back
do
to the topic at
this.
hand. Before I get into the section, really quick, I use terms like pretty and ugly and hot and not hot as a stand-in for conventionally attractive and not conventionally attractive. It is just for the sake of brevity that I chose to do this, but I want to make it very clear I am not saying that any of the features that I'm going to be talking about or any of the people that I'm going to be talking about are objectively ugly or pretty or whatever. I should hope that it will be clear that that is my standpoint based on the way that I'm going to conduct the discussion in this section. Still, just in case, want to make that clear, not here to insult anybody or hurt anybody's feelings. Cool. Anyway, if I sat down and really racked my brain, I'm actually pretty confident that I could come up with at least 100 different instances of hero and villain pairs where the hero is hot and the villain is not. It happens in and out of live action, though. I feel the trope is more easily identifiable in cartoony media or
Yeah.
narration-based media like books. And every time it happens, it's probably one of the least challenging things that a story can do. Granted, not every story needs to be challenging, but I can
Yeah, you
imagine
guys,
value
don't
out of
you
art that
know
actually tries
that
to
bad
make me think a
people
little bit, I
ugly and
guess.
good people
Now,
pretty? You guys
obviously, I
didn't know
understand
that?
why this is coming. Character
Great.
design is storytelling,
Yeah.
and making a character either appealing or unappealing to look at can act as a powerful visual indicator of whether you should like them or not. I also don't exactly mind how often the villain characters who look conventionally unattractive look that way because of their evil. They could be monstrous or haggard because they've been corrupted by dark magic or something else along that same vein. It's not an inherently bad idea, however, I just think it's kind of worn out storytelling device. For ages, media has taught the average person that being conventionally attractive has lots to do with how good of a person you are. Disney and Pixar are chock full of examples of the pretty hero and ugly villain pairing. Ariel versus Ursula, Aladdin versus Jafar, Tiana versus
Oh, this looks
Facilier,
so
Hercules
pretty.
versus Hades, Bob versus
Girly, girly, let's wait. Let's pause for a second. Because
Aladdin versus Jafar, Tiana.
I know you didn't just call Dr. Facilier an ugly villain. I know it in my heart because that man is conventionally handsome. Like, I'm sorry, he is handsome. Like, what are you talking about? Like, of course, he looks villainous, he looks evil, but he is handsome. What are you like, like? Anyway, it's just.
Versus Facilier,
Girl.
Hercules versus Hades, Bob versus Syndrome, the Queen of Hearts versus Alice. Despite the fact that I'd be down to clown with plenty of the villains I just listed, don't you dare judge me, it is very easy to see that, at least from a comparative standpoint, the protagonists get the lion's share of conventionally attractive features. The comparison can also be seen in things like in how Kronk gets a chance to redeem himself while the far less conventionally attractive Yzma is just purely and unchangeably evil. And, of course, this is just one media conglomerate. There are countless examples once you start to look out at the vast expanse of movies, shows, books, comics. Time and time
There we
again,
go.
hot equals good, ugly equals bad, and it's just stale. It's also just weird to teach your audience that with scars and deformity and differences tends to come a lower moral character, and it's a crappy message no matter how old your audience happens to be.
Yeah.
It's just as bad when Arcane does this than when fucking My Little Pony does it.
Eh?
You might rebut this with proposing the idea that, well, there's lots of media.
Oh my god, I
animated
did
or
it for the
otherwise,
whole
that flips
thing.
this idea on its head. So
They did
there's
it for the whole
definitely a counter trope of
Oh,
sorts.
Wait.
And honestly, fair point. There is a lot of media that attempts to subvert the trope.
Wait.
But frankly, I'm also kind of annoyed of
This
that
kind of
too.
fire? Wait,
Maybe
it's
not
not
for the reason you think. That sort of media, when the protagonist is kind of on the ugly side, when the villain is closer to being conventionally attractive, tends to feature physical appearance as a major plot point. The stories featuring the ugly good guys is often a story about how you shouldn't judge based on appearances, such
What?
as Shrek or Hunchback, or is otherwise about the ugly good guy finding a way to fix their ugliness, like in Beauty and the Beast. In media where the villain is pretty, it's oftentimes something that, once again,
What?
factors into the narrative. Their beauty is something they gain from villainy when they'd otherwise be conventionally unattractive, such as Entangled. Or their beauty is something they use to do evil deeds, like insert any sort of lust demon. As much as I absolutely adore K-pop demon
Yeah.
hunters, it even does this to a certain extent. Obviously, Huntress
Yeah.
are beautiful, I'm not calling them ugly, but all of the demons are hideous beasts except for the ones that need to be hot in order to manipulate the masses. I can fully acknowledge that this has a lot to do with the fact that it's drawing from actual mythology, but it still does exemplify what I'm talking about here. In other words, the characters aren't allowed to just look the way they look unless it's the same default hot hero and ugly villain combo. The bigger issue for both the trope and its subversion, however, is how it's pushing an objective difference between attractive and unattractive. Not to be the friend that's too woke, but I think it's pretty screwed up to perpetuate the idea that certain features are just inherently ugly or inherently pretty. Attractiveness is completely subjective. Don't listen to the weirdos that try to push this idea that there's some kind of instinctual reason as to why.
No, it's okay. No. I know you weren't teasing me. It's because I thought that I had the teeth on. I was actually, let me show you, the top lip. It was actually the closed lip, the closed mouth. what gave that effect, but I was meant to add it. Don't worry. They don't have top teeth. I didn't know that.
Features or personality traits are
I
moderately
know
attractive,
they have
especially
teeth
if they
for
claim to have
eating
gotten laid at some point.
grass.
That claim disproves their point.
I
Their
didn't
aura
know
should
that.
instinctively activate a fight or flight response. Sure, there are
Now,
some
give me a
trends in
sec.
things
I'm
that
gonna
people
get
might find
like a
more
color
commonly
palette.
attractive, and they could do with instinct, but
Save
all it
this,
takes is
save
cracking open a
this,
history book
find
to see
something.
how much beauty standards change and warp over time, and
Lovely
the variation continues as you look at
Sligo
all the different standards
Festival.
within individual cultures from around the world. I also really hate how this continues a trend of what I like to call average erasure.
Nah,
No
I'm not
matter
gonna use
what
that.
kind of
I'm
media
gonna
you
use
look
the
at,
regular,
both characters are most
regular
often hot
color.
or ugly. Rarely are we treated to people that are just average, which is stupid because the vast majority of people just look somewhere in the middle of the proposed extremes, existing as a mishmash of traits that are highly favored and not so highly favored by society, because human DNA isn't concerned about making people
The
supermodels. I
girls.
hope I've already made this
The
clear by the
girls.
examples I've been
And
using,
they
but I
like
wish to make it
jazz.
known that this isn't a thing that only existed in old Disney movies. I have seen others online discuss this concept before and kind of push this argument that media nowadays is just so much better, and sure, it might be better, but it's not like the concept has gone away
Look at
completely.
this color
Again,
I'm
refer to
using.
Arcane, refer to K-pop Demon Hunters, look at many modern anime shows.
Lady Mention, hello, welcome. How are you doing? How's your day? What is popping? How are you? How are you? Hi, hello. How are you? Hi, hello. Hello, hi.
Like Dandadan
I
and
really
Jujutsu
like that
Kaisen.
video.
And what I really want to address right now, refer to a lot of popular modern day
Oh
romance
God,
comics
this
and
deep
books.
color.
In my opinion, one of the worst manifestations of this trope is something that happens in a lot of recent romance titles,
yeah?
specifically lingering in that dark romance space. A genre title I have many issues with, but that's a different topic for a
Dark
different day.
romance.
I have read
Oh, I know
far
what
too
it
many
is.
comics and listened to far too many book reviews where the
Ugh.
female protagonist suffers victimization from two very similarly behaving men, but the perception on the actions changes depending on whether or not the character performing them is conventionally attractive.
Oh.
When the short, fat old man touches her hair without consent, it's creepy, but when the muscular, tall, well-groomed man does the same thing, it's hot and creates tension that the
And
reader
I
is
may
forced
have
to
an
invest
answer.
in and hope to
Yeah,
see
what's
more of.
up?
This is truly the trope at its worst, as the person you are meant to root for isn't even a better person this time, they're just hotter. I should hope that I don't have to explain why this is a problem, especially when the activities in question
The
are
current
significantly more traumatic than touching hair. The attractiveness of a person should have no bearing on whether or not we perceive their abusive actions as abusive. I know this is unfortunately a thing that happens in real life. I'm just saying, though, maybe if we didn't feed into this
Where
as much
is
in our
it?
media, it would happen a little less. Now, considering I have stated that I'd
I'm
rather
gonna
see
get
less
it.
of the
Hold on.
trope in practice, but also have issues with the reverse situation happening, you might be wondering what I could possibly
There you go.
propose as a solution. What would please me if someone were looking to do so? It's actually very simple, and that's just to not engage with the dichotomy at all. Don't break people up into categories of hot and not.
welcome.
Just make people with all kinds of different features that humans can have in real life. Allow your characters to
Let
have
me know if I'm
imperfections
missing
and desirable traits,
anything.
no matter whether or not you're supposed to like them. And
For the
let the
people who have
audience decide
commissions
who's
with
hot and
me,
who's
let
not.
me know if I'm
After
missing
how my audiences
anything.
behave towards my elderly asexual priest character, I've learned you have no real control over that anyways. I'm not saying you can't make conventionally attractive or conventionally unattractive characters, because that would be absolutely stupid. But treating attractiveness like a team sport is just not necessary. Some pieces of media that I really like and dodge this trope pretty well are the Owl House, Gravity Falls, both Castlevania series, Invincible, and even Clone High, of all things. I'd give live-action examples, but that would require basically labeling real humans as average-looking or even unattractive, and that's not
You
really
are
something I'm
okay.
about,
You just
so
let me know in
what I'm trying to say
DMs.
is that I'm not
Remind me
asking
in
for the
DMs and I will
impossible.
add it.
It is, in fact, possible to make me happy. I think I've yapped enough on this one. On to the next.
Guys, Vegetalo killed my entire family.
The title of this trope is a reference to the great and mighty Sung-Won Cho, who made a skit on his YouTube channel about this very phenomenon. This "we forgive you" business is that thing where the super-duper bad guy of the story gets redeemed, except not really.
Steven Universe.
Anymore for plot convenience. Don't get me wrong, I am a sucker
I'm
for a
good.
redemption arc. I love
Working
watching them
hard.
challenge their morals and ideals of their own volition and work hard to make amends with those that they've hurt. I am also a huge fan of when there is a temporary setting aside of differences for the sake of defeating an even bigger bad, and we all exit the confrontation knowing that neither party considers this to be a complete absolution of any bad blood, with perhaps a proper redemption taking place after the fact. But this trope isn't either of those things. This trope is, we sang a little song and now we're all good, or, well, he said he's on our side now, or the dreaded, they were actually just lashing out at us because of their trauma. It is instantaneous, or close to that, and rather than showing the villain actually growing and adapting as a person over time, everyone seems to just have amnesia regarding all of the bullshit this guy inflicted on them. There are countless reasons why I hate this from a narrative perspective, but to start with a main reason, I despise how this robs the villain of a real redemption arc. As I said before, the reason I like to witness redemption arcs is because of the internal struggles that you get to see them go through. The growth is the cool part. However, when this happens, there's no growth because we don't see them struggle and improve over time. We didn't see them try to make amends for what they did. The supposed internal shift happens all at once and therefore is completely superficial. Did they actually have a spontaneous change of heart, or did they just get back into a corner? Sure, there are cases where the initial forgiveness is super rushed, but then the character continues to prove themselves over and over after the fact. But that still doesn't make it believable
Sunset
to me
Shimmer, I
that
love you.
characters would extend that forgiveness in the first place, at least in most cases. You have some practically infinite wellsprings of forgiveness in certain medias, or characters with a long history with that villain, but it is rare that everyone is on the same page with that one person, so it doesn't make sense for them to grab that olive branch too. Also, in situations where there's one person who's more willing to forgive than the others, I loathe how frequently that's a betrayal to their friends. Obviously, sometimes it makes sense as to why they're waving the white flag, but other times it's just so shitty. How could you be choosing the guy that murdered my mom over me right now? What,
Yeah.
y'all are lesbian lovers? Too bad. Your lesbian lover killed my mom. Find a different one. Speaking of, this trope usually
Soulstone!
burdens the
Oh,
protagonist
thank
too,
you so
not just
much.
the
Thank you so
villains.
much for the
Like,
lurkers. I
in a
really
lot of cases,
appreciate it.
you are dealing
I
with
hope that
people
you're
that have
doing
caused
wonderful.
incredible
My
trauma.
very
They killed
handsome,
people that the
very
protagonists
gentle
cared
and
about.
kind friend.
They violated and assaulted the protagonists. But because it is now plot convenient, they are expected to have switched sides based on basically nothing. And the characters that we as the audience were led to believe have emotions that we as the audience are supposed to take seriously just seem to change completely because they've got to for the plot. If you have good characterization up to that point, and your good guys feel real, this stuff can really hurt that. At best, it feels
Yeah.
like any kind of strong conviction or sense of morality that these characters previously possessed was entirely dependent on convenience, and at worst, you get characters that stop acting like people and start acting like vessels for a story. Which they ultimately are, but good writing should prevent the viewer from feeling that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, even if you have the saddest backstory in the world, and even if there was a time when I was really close to you, I'm still not gonna set my differences with you aside if you commit terrorism against me and in the process kill many of my friends and family.
Yeah.
In fact, I think our history as friends will make me even less likely to open my door for you, because why on earth would I give you the opportunity to betray me again?
Exactly.
One of the most egregious examples of this trope, at least in my mind, comes from Steven Universe.
Yeah.
Massive
Thank
Steven
you.
Universe spoilers. Enjoy.
Thank you.
Skip to
Thank
here,
you.
this timestamp if you haven't.
Oh my
watched
god,
and
thank you
don't
so
want the
much.
spoilers.
Thank you.
This is an example that makes me so upset because Steven Universe manages to perfectly execute realistic character growth and redemption arcs over and over again, proving that the show is more than capable of it, and then it turns around and massively fumbles other situations. And yes, I do mean perfectly executed. Steven Universe gets a lot of criticism for being overly dramatic and sloppily written at times, and while I do actually think some of that is valid, the common critique of it being one of those la la, we are best friends now types of shows just doesn't hold water for me. Unless you're going in with the incorrect mindset that musicals are lame, it makes sense when and where the songs do the trick. However, they really dropped the most important ball. If you watched the show and have consumed any media about the finale, I am sure that you know I'm talking about the diamonds. While I think the finale gets a lot more flack than it really deserves in some aspects, especially considering how rushed it was behind the scenes, the decision to redeem the diamonds by trying to paint them as victims of a toxic family dynamic is absolutely stupid. To my knowledge, there has been no indication that the diamonds were created by some other being which forced them all to be perfect. At least it's not been indicated in the actual show or the movie. Maybe it's in an art book or something, but you don't get the brownie
Give me a
points for your show
second.
being well written.
Give me a second. I need to make a phone call. Give me a second, please. Okay, I'm back. I need to end stream soon. Let me see how much I can color, but I will need to end stream soon. Okay. Actually, I think that's a good point to end stream. My God, dude, I don't know how to talk. Damn, I don't know how to talk. No, but yeah, we do need to end stream because I need to get some things done IRL. Let's see which of my friends is streaming right now. Oh yeah, I know who we're going to raid. I know who we're gonna raid. It's gonna be one of my good friends. Yes, yes, we are. Okay, we're going to raid a very cute boy. We're gonna raid a cute guy. His name is Dio Pendragon. I'm gonna rate Dio. He's gonna be playing Paranormal Side, The Seven Mysteries of Honjo. Hey, well, thank you so much for coming. I'm gonna give you a rate message so that we can copy and paste. Give me a second. Let me make the rate message. School trip to the cat cafe. No, school trip to the cafe. To the cat boy. School trip to the cat boy. School trip to the cat boy. School trip to the cat boy. Boom, 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 boom. This is our raid message. Copy and paste if you would like to join. Again, thank you so much. Thank you so much for always being here. Thank you for all the new follows. Like, wow, a crazy bunch of people, bunch of new people here. Next stream tomorrow, same hour, same time, God willing. Until then, I'll be seeing you. Say goodbye. 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 Goodbye.